please. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. There we go. This is the March 7th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. We're at the Al Merritt Media and Cultural Center at the Market Street Complex. At the beginning of our meeting, we announced that the meeting is being recorded and broadcast via cable television. If everyone would please rise, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If everybody will be patient, we have a fairly long agenda this evening, and we'll get through everything as well as we can, as quickly as we can. The first item on the agenda is our Linfield Mums group is going to come up and present their warrant article for the town meeting. Ladies, if you'd like to come up, I don't know if it's one or all. Erica Wilson. Hi, Erica. Just introduce yourself, to where you're from, what street address.
How are you doing tonight? Thank you
Good.
for having us. I'm Erica
Welcome.
Wilson, 130 Lowell Street. So we're here to present our warrant article for the upcoming town meeting. We're a group of volunteer-run local parents of 170 people. We have 300 kids under the age of 6 years old. And in September of 2014, we had sent a letter to the Selectmen's office regarding the state of the playgrounds in town. And we're really happy with the response that you guys were allowing us to fundraise and work on them together. After about 2 years of research, planning, and fundraising, we've just realized that it's too big of a project for our group to take on, which is why we are putting this warrant on the article on the town meeting so we can get funding from the town as well. To date, we've raised $9,000, and we're excited that our next fundraising effort will be on April 9th at the Wakefield Elks with an 80s night with silent auction. While we're really proud of everything we've done, it's falling very short of the $170,000 for the improvements to Glen Meadow Park. After only about a week of publicizing this to people, we were able to get 90 signatures to support our petition, and we're continuing to get more. And we just really feel for the age group in town, for the community of families with ages 6 and under children, that just would be a great improvement for the town. And we'd also like to ask you for your support to recommend this article for approval at the upcoming town meeting.
Well, great. Thank you, Erica. I appreciate it. I did get a copy of the petition, and I estimate, you said you had 90 signatures here. It looked like at least 90 to 100 signatures. I've seen, you've sent me a copy of the proposed playground improvements. I know in the fall we did a cleanup over at Glen Meadow, which really gave us a chance, or those who came, I think the Townscape group was there, and several parents came that all did, helped out, and you could really see what was needed. A lot of those playground equipment that's there is getting old, it's getting weathered, and not only that, it's becoming a safety factor for some of the kids. I'm assuming you're trying to do this so your kids can actually play on this.
Yes.
And not get out of high school before this gets done at the rate the fundraising's going. So do you want to read it? You want to just read your article, or would you like me to do it?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, all right,
Thank
I'll
you.
do that. The way the article is reading on the petition that got filed with the town clerk is to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money for the construction of municipal outdoor recreational facilities, including the development of land and the construction and reconstruction of facilities at Glen Meadow Park, and to determine whether to raise this appropriation by borrowing or otherwise, or to take any other action related thereto. And I believe Mr. Mullen, our town council, had helped you with wording that, so it is
Yes.
proper for the town meeting. And I think this is a great thing to bring forward. We certainly do need some help with that park, and it's the most centrally located park in town, so I would think it's pretty widely used.
Yes.
Yeah, most of the mums group. I remember it was only about a year and a half ago, there was about 70 in the mums group. So now it's at 170. It's been pretty impressive on the,
Growing
how it's
daily.
grown, yes, and
Yeah.
growing daily, yeah. So I certainly would support this effort, and, the appropriation amount will be determined at town meeting or right before town meeting. We'll plug that number in. That'll be based on how much money you've raised to date, plus what you raised from now until town meeting. Is that what the plan is?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's
Yes, we have
great.
our
So-
biggest fundraiser coming up, so hopefully we'll do well.
Right, right, that's great. Well, I appreciate it, and good luck with the next fundraiser.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
and
Thank you.
board members?
I'd like to, congratulate you on all of your hard work. I remember when you first came in about 2 years ago, that I actually met with the DPW director. I went around myself to all the parks with a long laundry list of items that needed to be addressed, and some they did and some they didn't. And I think this is a great thing to do. The one thing that I want to make sure that we all keep in mind, and I think this is another issue that came up with the current recreation department, is the make sure DPW maintains it. So once we put up this great facility, that they maintain to make sure kids in the future continue to play, enjoy it in a very safe fashion. That's very, very important. So we gotta make sure that there's adequate funding in the DPW budget to keep it safe and usable.
I
But
understand.
thank you for all of your hard work
Thank you.
and your team.
I just want to thank your team also. You're probably one of the most powerful groups in town right now. You guys have done tremendous work. I really appreciate it. It certainly has doubled in the last year. I'd like to sign this petition. I know there's a lot of people looking forward to that 1980s night. I think what you're doing to raise the money for the parks throughout Linfield is a must, especially in that Glen Meadow area. Is a nice start. I think that's something that's a must, and I appreciate you doing that and all the hard work. And anything I can do to support you, I'll be right there to help you out. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Erica. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Our next item will be a update of the Fields project. Arthur Bork, the chairman of the Fields Committee, is here. Welcome, Arthur. Is that on, Arthur? There
No,
you go.
first time in front of this microphone, so it's a little scary. Thank you very much for having me in this evening. So my update is kind of two-phased. Let me start first by saying that White Construction has finished all the work at the high school that was proposed to be done under the contract. We have received from them as-built documents for the project, and those as-built documents are in the custody of the town engineer. There were a number of revisions that we extracted from them to make them accurate. I've spent a lot of time reviewing them to make them accurate, as has the town engineer, who went through them and found actually a couple of things that he noted that needed to be updated. So we think that they could not be any more accurate than they currently are. I've made the application, I've spoken to the Conservation Commission. I think I'll be appearing at their April meeting to try to get the permit closed that was issued to the town of Linfield. We will be closing at the same time the 2001 school project, which was never closed, and the 2012 school building addition project, which was not closed, and the Fields project. So all three Concom permits will be closed. At that point, we should be able to close the three DEP permits that are outstanding. And I think that'll take the town a giant leap forward with regard to what we currently have pending at the Concom. As far as the financial update, I think you should have a spreadsheet in front of you that talks about does everyone have that spreadsheet? It talks about the account numbers in the left-hand side, the description of the accounts, and then the balance remaining. We currently have $56,116.52 in the existing budget. We have committed about $7,100 to a contractor to build a block wall around the bullpen. For those that have been down there, the bullpen goes against the grain up there, so there's a slight height elevation difference, and because of that, the clay mounds were leaching off the top of the mound onto the turf fields and into the grass in that area beside it. So we are going to build a block wall around the clay mounds and then refill them up, or pull the clay out, build a block wall, refill with a stone, and then bring the clay up to level so that we can get those mounds back in, and we'll stop leaching and stop losing clay. It's a pretty expensive process. That clay is not cheap, so every time we have washout there, it takes money to repair it. That leaves us with a remaining balance of $49,016.52. The one part of this project that was not completed that we, after reviewing it with the contractor on the site, I made a decision not to go forward with it, was the resurfacing of the tennis courts. There was $18,000 allocated towards that resurfacing. But when we went down and looked at the courts, it was the contractor's opinion, and I couldn't disagree. It's two reasons. First of all, I don't have the expertise to disagree, but secondly, when you look at the courts, you realize they could not be repaired by just patching and painting the courts. It wasn't going to do us any good to go in and seam up the cracks with hot tar or some other thing and then repaint them. It might have lasted for a year or two, but it wasn't a good investment of the 18,000. So we are in the process of talking to a couple of different companies now about coming in and what it's going to cost us to resurface those tennis courts. I think the 49,000 that is remaining should go in some direction to help us towards that process. I don't think it will cover all the costs. My hope is that the remaining costs, we will have enough money out of the townwide fields project to cover the cost of resurfacing the courts. I won't know until that's done. I have meetings later this week and next week to look at that project to try to understand what has to be done. And quite honestly, I kept that off till last because I wanted to make sure we had the fields done completely before I didn't want to spend money in another location before we had made sure the fields were exactly where they needed to be. So that completes the high school. I think we'll be done that. There's a couple little things left like the tennis courts to do, but everything else is done on the fields. And just a note that those fields have been nominated for the American Sports Builders Association for an award, national award. I'm not sure what category, probably in multiple categories, but we're still waiting to hear what's going to happen with that. They were nominated by Gale Associates, who did the engineering for us, and we'll see where it all goes. So, phase 2 of the project, the townwide fields project, the original appropriation was for $822,000. Reading off the bottom line of the top graph, $822,000. We have awarded contracts and approved change orders to date in the amount of $590,425. We have spent $262,000. That's just part of that encumbrance in contract award, the partial payments. And we have a remaining balance to spend of about $559,981. However, you'll see right below that another chart that outlines the change orders that have been approved. Additional gates at Glen Meadow, some fence changes that had to be made at Glen Meadow, some additional dense grade stone dust paths at Newhall Park, and some additional design work for drainage at Newhall. Be aware that the additional drainage at Newhall is probably the small part of this. It's a $800 engineering change order. However, we expect that change order to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $50,000 when it comes down. And I'll explain the problem is, as anyone that's been to Newhall knows, along the back side is a stone wall that abuts the Valley High property. And that everything above that stone wall, including the parking lot from the Valley High and all of the grass and tree areas, the watershed from that property comes down across the stone wall and either through the stone wall or over the stone wall and drains directly onto the baseball field, the tennis courts, the new tennis courts that will be constructed, and the other baseball field that's down to the far end. When we originally looked at this project with the engineering firm, nobody really knew that this problem existed. We weren't made aware of it, and quite honestly, we didn't pick up on it at the time. Within the first 3 or 4 days of construction, we had one of those 3-inch rainstorms, and the contractor called us and said, "You got to come down here and look at what's going on here." And what was going on was giant pools of water behind home plate on what was going to be a brand new field, or what is going to be a brand new field, and giant pools of water that was sheeting across the tennis courts because of the amount of water flow. And so we contracted with Gale to develop a solution to that. We expect what's going to happen in there. There will be some additional drainage put into the ground at the base of the wall. The water will leach through the stone dust or into drains, 2 large catch basin type drains, and that will be taken off across underneath the tennis courts into a large drainage cavern that we have being built. That's going to be built as part of this project over on Oak Street, right at the end of the last driveway on Oak Street. So because that work was pending, we stopped the work in December because we didn't want to install that without also installing all the pipes at the same time. We didn't want to continue the construction of the tennis courts, which probably could have continued into December without having that drainage pipe going underneath it. And we are currently waiting for Gale's final proposal on final engineering drawings so that we can ask the contractor for a change order price on getting that work done. That project, the fields themselves are all complete. We have some sprinklers that will have to be done in the spring. That will be done as an add-on after project. And we will be using up some of the balance that's currently left. So after the appropriation of 822, the encumbered or expended to date of 590, we have a balance of about 231,000 remaining. We know we have a change order pending for about 50,000. That will bring us down to a balance of about 181,000. We expect there will be some other work down there, as sprinklers, as I say, and there'll be a lot of little miscellaneous projects where we have to pick up a few pieces that are left behind. There have been a couple of things that we've discovered as the project rolled out. The back of the baseball dugouts don't have fencing, so we probably need to put fencing in the back of the baseball dugouts. And there's some other just small stuff that we're trying to catch on before we finish the project. If you've been into Glen Meadow Park, and I admire the Mothers Group for being here to try to improve the playground there, because that's going to be a great place to not only play a game, but a great place to see a game. We have brand new dugouts, brand new infield in there. The field looks spectacular. The fencing's all been fixed. And when we're all done in there, that will be just a great little field, and a great place to bring the young kids that are going to play there and their younger siblings to play on a great playground if this thing goes through. So it's pretty exciting what's going on in town. We are meeting with a contractor this week on the resurfacing of the Summer Street and Huckleberry Hill School playgrounds where the apparatus is, to try to get those damaged surfaces repaired. I believe we'll be able to get them into the budget. And we have some work pending at Huckleberry Hill School, the all-purpose field, including the drilling of a well and installation of an irrigation system there, and some other work that's going down on the Summer Street school field. I will tell you that we have some reservations about resurfacing the Summer Street School softball field. We have since found out that one of the things that happens there is that the DPW plows those fields during the winter so that the kids can have outdoor recess. And to go in there and spend a lot of money resurfacing and fixing those fields, only to have them plowed up afterwards by the plows, is of some concern to us. So we will probably be looking at or discussing alternatives to that project, or alternative solutions at that location to try to fix that field up. The field's in pretty bad shape. It's all crabgrass and weeds. We need to find a better solution to what's there. I'm just not sure what it is. So we are working on that to bring it forward. And then finally, I'm very concerned that we do not have sufficient funds to complete the project that was scheduled for Jordan Park. Wasn't part of this, but was being done under the Parks grant that we were trying to get. We did not receive that. So we're going to have to take another look down the line at Jordan Park. But I would propose to the board that we get through this project and get through phase 2 of this project before we start looking at another facet of spending. So that's where we currently are. I'm open to any discussion. Finally, let me just say this, that I think you all should have a spreadsheet. Looks like this. It's the field maintenance project. So for the last 2 months, I've been working with all of the organized sports in town. They were all solicited by email, asked to send in all of the work that they do as part of their maintenance programs on these fields, that they expect the DPW do as part of their maintenance program. So as all of you know, there's a new player fee that's been instituted that's being charged by rec. The expectation of these sports is that if they're going to give up the 20 or 30,000 that they used to use to fix these fields on their own, that our DPW is going to have to manage or provide those services going forward. I know the Rec Commission Director is prepared to meet with me, and they've actually delegated it to Bob Rellahan, and the two of us are scheduled to meet planning to meet with the DPW Director to kind of go through this spreadsheet. But the spreadsheet is pretty comprehensive. It's 15 pages long. It details out every single item that has to be done on every single field. It is broken down by month, by week. It is broken down by field. So if you go across the spreadsheet, it tells you which that line item, which fields it applies to. Some of them are just turf only, some of them are grass, some of them baseball fields, softball fields, lacrosse, soccer, whatever it is. Each one of them has a different requirement. Each one of them is called out. And we did it in this format so that we could take it column by column and take field by field and have a separate spreadsheet for every field and every location to break it down for the DPW Director. One of the complaints that he's had is that what he said to us is, I'm not sure what your expectations are, that, we probably can't make it look like Gillette Stadium. And I said, well, we'll define the expectations for you. So this spreadsheet should hopefully get us there. I'd be surprised if he isn't looking for some additional help from recreation in funding some subcontractors to do some of this work. But I think if we're assessing player fees, then that money is available in that revolving account. We need to use that money to try to subsidize some of the work that needs to be done by the DPW. That's my report, gentlemen. I open any questions if you have them.
Well, Arthur, first let me say thank you for all the, not only hard work you've done over the last couple of years, but this maintenance program has been a thorn in our side, trying to get this organized and put together. And the spreadsheet that you've put together is tremendous. I know this must take hundreds of hours of your time to start putting this all together and get all the facts from everybody involved. And do you have an idea of timeline after you meet with Mr. Allahan and the DPW, when you think you might have something concrete as far as what the town's gonna be able to handle and what we have to contract out?
I don't. So one of the reasons I did it in the spreadsheet was that I hope that the DPW director can take and factor each one of these things with a number in each one of those blocks, so that we know that if it's striping a field, it takes 1 hour, and we can put that in every striping block, and then we can compute across the fields by each line item how much time has to be spent, how much time has to be spent on every field, and then it will help him get to his decision on. I have 4 guys, they work 40 hours a week. I can expect, X number of hours on the field doing maintenance from them. And so in that, we're going to be able to do this amount. And then we're going to need a lot of help from him deciding what he cannot do or what is better off farmed out to subcontractors. And we need to be very careful about a union contract and the taking work out of any of the union mouths that want to do this work here, and making sure that the work we sub out is work that isn't taking from some of these guys that are working here every day trying to make a living.
Right, well, I agree, but the amount of investment the town's making into these fields and all these renovations, it certainly needs to be maintained properly. I mean, this is a lot, multi-year project. We haven't even gotten to all the fields throughout the middle school and now elementary schools, so there's gonna be more maintenance required as the next couple of summers pass. So nail this down is a big part of the whole master plan. So I really appreciate everything you're doing with it. Are you confident at this point with the funds that you have left on this townwide field project that we'll be able to finish both Huckleberry and Summer Street with the funds we have?
The playground surfaces, I believe so, although I have not really gotten an indication what the value of that is. So I meet with them on Thursday as the first contractor coming in to talk about that and try to get some pricing ideas. I believe we have enough money. We certainly have enough money, I believe, to finish the playground surfaces. How much more of the work we have to do, we have money for, I don't know. Again, it's going to come down to a decision, and some of it's going to bear on what we decide to do with the tennis courts, and what we decide to do with different park surfaces other than this. The middle school is pretty much done. We have a private contractor that's coming in to do that work because we made a deal. It's nothing illicit, but we made a swap for our baseball field for him to do the work to resurface and redo the softball and baseball fields. And then the dugouts for those fields are going to be installed as part of the contract that we have, and that's already been awarded for the townwide fields project.
Yeah.
So, I feel like when we get done, Newhall, Glen Meadow, the middle school, baseball, softball will be in pretty good shape. That all we have left at that point is the playground surfaces at Summer Street and Huckleberry and some work on those fields, notwithstanding Jordan Park. So.
Yeah, I was, as you know, I was on site regularly on the Fields project. I haven't been up at the Glen Meadow for the Heimlich project. I just want to get your take on how the whole project went with the Heimlich construction. How was it to work with them?
Different than White, the project was not as large.
Right.
The intensity was not as severe. The Heimlich project was a visit probably every day, every 2 days, whereas the White project, I lived there from 7 in the morning till 10 or 11 o'clock at night every day. So a whole different pace, quite honestly. But the contractor's a solid contractor. He's been very good to deal with. He's been very honorable. There's been stuff where he could have jammed us and he didn't. And I think that's the value add that you bring to the contract when you say to the contractor, "You need help us out here.
Right.
This isn't. We need to find a way to get this done," and they do. And quite honestly, we've done the same thing with Gale. We've had a couple of proposals for engineering changes from Gale that we've gone back on them and said, we need to cut the price of this, it's it's excessive, and, or you need to help us out, because we're running out of money, quite honestly, and Gale's been very good as well, so.
Great.
We've had good cooperation.
Great, thank you. Tom, Chris, any questions?
I want to thank you for all your hard work. I know that the high school project was an immense project, and I think that the town is much better off with it. And finally, the kids have a great place to play. You know, what we were all playing on before was pretty embarrassing. When a lot of people came to town, and you think of Linfield, and you think of, you know, well-heeled people, and yet kids go onto fields and it's, you know, shooting the ball, and there's a stone right beside it. Luckily, no one got injured. So thank you very much for all your hard work with the high school and continuing on with these other fields. And through all this, from the beginning, one of I think your concern was as well, is making sure that DPW is well prepared to maintain these fields. Because it would be a crying shame after all these millions of dollars that they're not maintained correctly, and to watch them fall into a state of disrepair and us have to spend millions of dollars more to fix them is something we really need to be careful of. So I'm sure that you're working with the rec and DPW with making sure that that occurs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we made some promises to people during the committee days before the fields were, when they were still being dreamt of. And we had a lot of people questioning whether we could maintain these fields after they were built. And I vowed that I would stay involved to get this thing done. And sometimes it isn't that easy. Sometimes you're down there speaking in pretty unfriendly terms to people, saying we need to get this done. And I don't really want to hear that I don't have enough manpower. And I don't really want to hear, we need to figure out how to get it done. And if we can't, then we need to sub that work out, and we need to figure out how to pay for subbing the work out. But you can't, the cost of not repairing these fields, of not maintaining them, is far more severe than it is to spend a little money and get them done right now. And so I'm all over it. I've promised people in town, and I promise the townspeople, I will stay on this as long as I can to, until they finally beat me to a pulp. So far, for 25
won't
years,
happen.
people in town have been trying to beat me up, and I still keep coming back, so.
Do you know how you progressing with the middle school field? I know that you have the switch on out in the
We've
front.
told the middle school that we're gonna break ground in there around June 15th. We think the contractor is gonna be prepared to go. We need to meet with him, get him tooled up for this season, but it's gonna be done. They're talking several weeks, not several months, and we'll have it done sometime within the summer months. I would say probably June into July. And the summer rec programs, we've met with them to talk about the adjustments that are gonna be made. They're gonna use the stadium field out back and stay off those fields while we're doing the work. And so we're gonna get in there and try to get that knocked off as quickly as we possibly can. But I would say,
Do you mean the backfield, Tom, or the ones up front?
No,
the
the
front
front now, I was gonna
yeah,
ask about the
middle school,
back.
yeah.
One
So that's,
section at a time.
we're gonna do that. We'll be done this summer.
And then how about the football field?
Well, the football field's a private fundraising object. We're trying to raise money. We haven't really, we've kicked off the fundraising project, but we haven't really driven the big projects. So we have some ideas around a major fundraising scheme, and we'll get it going shortly. We've actually been working with some other people to try to get a particular events scheduled. I'm not prepared to announce at this point.
Are we gonna retain that as a football field?
Retain it for anything you want, but the plan was to turn it into, to take the stadium
Yeah.
bleachers down, which I think should be done under any conditions. We should take the bleachers down. I think they're
Yeah,
unsafe.
they're not safe.
And, right, we should be dropping them. And I think we can probably find a contractor to drop them for the price of the steel, but we'll see. And I'd be happy to coordinate that if the board and the town wants me to do that. Or I think the DPW director is fully capable of handling that. And not that he isn't capable of handling any of this, but that field, I think, the design was to increase the radius of the track and put a full-side field in there, could be used for lacrosse or for soccer or for football. So it would become a field that could be used for any sport that they want to use it for.
Arthur, will you be working with LRC and DPW to make sure that they iron out a well-organized plan for the field maintenance?
Well, the basis of the plan is what I've developed here. Once that had been developed, I sent it over to Matt to take a look at, and he sent it on, and I got an email back from Bob Relihan saying at their meeting, they had designated him as the liaison, and so, I think they're gonna work from this as the basis, but believe me when I tell you, and you've got it, I mean, it's pretty comprehensive, there's a lot of detail in there, if there's things missing, we'll add them in. And I think it's just a matter of checking off the box every week
Right.
and making sure stuff gets done, and that's, we're gonna have to do that. So,
Thank you.
I just want to once again thank you many times for the work you've done in the fields. They're amazing. I would think they win that award. They certainly
They'll
are
probably win
something
something.
else.
I don't know.
And they're better than Gillette Stadium. I mean, those fields up behind the high school are something else. They're awesome.
It's a huge complex. It's pretty impressive. I mean, I still walk onto that complex after 2 years and still look and go, this is pretty unbelievable for a town like us. And it's, every single person you run into, and I've been down there for different events, and people from out of town come on and they have the same reaction. How did you do this? And I said, my answer is pretty simple. The townspeople decided they wanted to get it done, and we got it done. It was, it really was a combined effort and the work of a lot of people. So
It's a great
anyway.
job. Quick question, and I know it's just Tom, just to piggyback on what he said regarding DPW. I think that's a must. It's an obvious. I know a couple of people discussed with me over the weekend that is the important next step with this fields project to make sure we have that maintenance schedule so that we don't revisit disrepair in the next couple of years. We just continue to maintain them. And this is something I think is outstanding, what you've put together for the maintenance schedule. What's the time frame DPW is going to give you on return and the information about how long it would take?
No
for each-
idea. We haven't even sat with them yet. I mean, this is really just coming off the press, making adjustments as recently as yesterday before I finished it up today.
Is there a time frame you think we need to do this, get this back from DPW? Is there?
Well, I think we can implement it at any point during the process. A lot of the
Yeah.
stuff that's on here, they're already doing. A lot of the stuff that they've had, the athletic director, Mike Beerwith, who had a big piece of this as well, sent over an email earlier this month to the athletic director. I was copied on it, to the DPW director. I was copied on it, asking for a lot of this work to be done. He got a very positive response back from the DPW director saying, yes, we'll do this, yes, we'll do that. We won't be here till then. We're not gonna do this until, some of the stuff is really for the baseball season in April is gonna be done. He's not gonna do it till the last week of March or whatever, but,
Yeah.
all of the stuff he acknowledged, and said, yeah, he was doing. I mean, I think it was very little that he didn't take on as a responsibility. So, he's aware of a lot of the stuff that's coming on. This just really formalizes that. And,
Yeah, this is.
I will say that John Leonard, who's a DPW employee here in Linfield, we are very fortunate to have him. He's taken a lot of ownership of that field at the high school. He's involved. He's the one that's driving the gator down there, dragging those turf brushes and dragging the groomer. And he really has taken a lot of pride in it, and it's because of him, and not solely because of him, but it's his work that has kept that field in the great shape it's in. When you go down there and look, and the thing's looking good, and he's out there tooling around with the gator, it's a lot of work. I mean, you make a couple of passes with that gator, and you're cleaning. It is amazing how much crap is coming off those fields in the form of bracelets, necklaces, dentures, mouthpieces, bobby pins. It is just amazing what's coming up in that thing. Plus all of that extra turf, because that sheds a little bit, so that's coming up. And so we're he does a great job maintaining it for us. So I'm very comfortable that field's in great shape. I'm actually a little bit more concerned about the grass fields that we're trying to maintain because they deteriorate much more quickly with much more maintenance than the artificial turf fields. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Arthur.
Well, thank you. Any questions from the audience? No? Arthur, thank you very much.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much. Sorry I have to run to the finance committee, then my next victim, but
Thank you.
I'm sure they're looking forward to you coming. The next item tonight will be the warrant article for the scenic roads. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, gentlemen. I'm Beth Aronson, 7 Durham Drive. I am a member of the tree committee representing the Conservation Commission this evening. And I believe you have before you the warrant that we would like you to put on the town meeting, which designates 5 of our ways of scenic ways: Chestnut, Essex, Lowell, Main, and Summer Street. And I'm asking also for your support.
Do you mind just turning on your microphone?
The button down below.
Okay, fine. Can you hear me? I'm asking also for your support for the warrant article. The designation process was spelled out in the bylaw, which was adopted last April at town meeting. And these are the 5 consensus streets that Planning Board, Conservation Commission, and the Historical Commission have all agreed to as best meeting the description of scenic roads in the bylaw under 4.1 for their overall beauty, contribution of vegetation, tree canopy, stone walls, fences, and their loss potentially lessening the aesthetic value and historical significance of our town. We presented a public forum on January 14th, to which we had many attendees. And we have also had a lot of press in all the local papers about the forum. We also went before the Conservation Commission as a tree committee, and they formally requested that these be the 5 roads named. And there will be an official public hearing on March 15th. There has been press in all the papers, and legal notice has been put in by the Conservation Commission of that hearing.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
Beth, where is
Yes.
that going to be held?
That is going to be held at Town Hall.
At Town Hall in the
In
Selectmen's room?
Selectmen's room,
Okay,
correct.
thanks.
So the notice has been also through the town website. We have of frequently asked questions and a copy of the bylaw and the proposed warrant article. And we're directing everybody to the town website with our press.
Great. I appreciate it. What's, they said you had the forum already?
We had a forum on January 14th,
And what-
also in
and
the
what
Board
kind
of
of turnout did
Selectmen.
you get for that? Did you-
We had at least a dozen people come. The main questions seemed to be trying to understand if there would be an impact on private property. And this does only affect the public way, as you know, unless an additional driveway is created. And I guess in that sense, there is some private interest. But there was also a lot of interest in why we weren't asking for additional roads, such as Salem, Walnut Street, and others to be designated. And we explained that at a later time, additional roads can always be named by any of the 3 agencies in town. So it's not an exhaustive list, but it is our consensus list at this point. And we had good support at that meeting.
Great. All right, well, thank you. Any questions from the board members?
I only had one question. I think it's a great idea, but I see a tremendous difference between Chestnut Street, Essex Street, and Lowell Street versus Main and Summer. Could you explain how we bridge that gap?
They are our oldest streets, our most historic streets, including Main and Summer Streets. Main and Summer possibly longer. I'm not sure I understand why you
Well,
see a difference.
Well, when we're talking about Lowell Street and, I'm sorry, talking about Chestnut, Essex, and Lowell, they're excessively tree-lined,
Yes,
trees covering the streets, especially during the summer. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think of Main Street and Summer Street as thoroughfares, and it's not exactly that same kind of feel. So I can appreciate those 2 being, the more senior streets.
right. I think that it's possible there are sections of Main and Summer Street that are not quite as scenic or that are wider, but they do possess all the qualities that we look for in our scenic roads, including the canopy and the age of the stone walls and the trees. And so that on the whole, without parceling out sections of those streets, it was the opinion of the 3 commissions that those did meet the qualities.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Chris,
Nothing, thank you.
anybody? Any audience? No? Great. Beth,
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Our next item tonight will be the presentation of our school budget by Jane Tremblay. Jane, welcome. Jane has put together a PowerPoint, I assume? Yep, thank you.
thank
Push your-
Thank you for having me this evening. Before I begin with the presentation, I just wanted to address the fact that you do not have a line item view of the budget right now due to the fact that we are still negotiating an executive session with the union, and we're working toward a contract. We feel very confident that clearly before town meeting, we'll be able to have that ratified by the union and moving forward. So I apologize for not being able to have that for you tonight. So as jumping off point for tonight's presentation and conversation, I really wanted to discuss first our mission and our vision. So our mission for the Linfield Public Schools is basically our purpose, why we exist. So the mission of the Linfield Public Schools is to support and challenge all students to meet their full potential as individuals and citizens of the global community. And to piggyback with that is our vision, and our vision is the aspirations that we have for our students, what we value, why we value, and what we want for our students as outlined in our district strategy. And so this vision was actually put together this past summer in a workshop with the school committee as we were working on finishing up our district strategy. So the vision for the Linfield Public Schools is to foster a culture of excellence in teaching and learning, to create intellectually curious learners, broaden individual skills and talents, and maximize each student's potential. So everything that you hear in tonight's presentation is outlined, or it goes right back to our district strategy. So the things that we're really looking at in our district strategy, and this is in no particular order, these are the 5 big boulders that we're thinking about when we're thinking about how we want to move our district forward. We really need to make sure that we're building leadership capacity within our school district, that we are really making sure that our teachers under educated growth are the absolute best that they can possibly be. We really need to keep a very close eye on our curriculum instruction, and of course our assessment and accountability from a state standpoint, but also from individual school standpoints. And all of this is encompassing the fact that we really need to be meeting the needs of all of our students, not just in an academic forum, but also in a social and emotional forum. So as you're listening to the presentation tonight, be thinking about these 5 boulders and how they fit into it. So I've set up this presentation for you in different sections. The first section is going to give you an overview or broad strokes of the budget proposals. The second section, I will share with you anticipated outcomes if the proposals are actually put into action. And then the third section will tease out the financial implications of each of the proposals. So the first proposal is to restructure the Executive Secretary of Curriculum Instruction position. This vacancy is due to retirement, and to create a Director of Teaching and Learning. The second proposal is to provide a tuition-free, full-day kindergarten program for all of our students. Next, we are going to reassign classroom teachers to support equity and class size at all levels. We'd also like to expand our elementary music program, and we would further like to develop our special education program specifically at the preschool level. So the first proposal that I want to talk about is the position of the Director of Teaching and Learning. So I've broken this down into 2 categories: anticipated classroom outcomes and anticipated administrative outcomes. Before I share the outcomes with you, I just want to give you a little bit of the background of the process by which we got here, because I think the process is really important to the final outcome, which is having a Director of Teaching and Learning in the budget proposal. Currently, we have a position called the Executive Secretary of Curriculum Instruction. That position is in my central office. We have had that position for as long as I can remember. I've been in the district 30 years. It's been here longer than that. This position, the person who holds this position is retiring after 25 years of service. So I think one of the things that our team does really well is we're always looking for ways to maximize our resources in order for us to have the greatest impact in our classrooms and ultimately on our student success. So when this retirement came up, we really felt that it afforded us the opportunity to really take a step back, to really reflect,
take inventory, and think about this position in its current state. Are we really getting what we need from this position? Is it really bringing life to our district strategy? And is it really going to move us forward? So as we sat around and we talked about this for a very long time, we realized that if we restructured this position, we could have a greater impact on our classrooms, which would absolutely improve teaching and learning. The proposal is really to restructure it from a secretarial position to an educator's position. The greatest focus of this position will be on the job of teaching and learning in the classroom. It will really be looking at curriculum, not only from what we are teaching, but how we are teaching it. And if we take a very close look at not only the curriculum, but the instructional practices, we're ultimately going to strengthen our instructional core. So first I want to talk about the classroom outcomes from a teaching standpoint. Our district strategy dictates that we will ensure consistent, high-quality learning experiences for all our students. So this is not just for a group of our students in one grade, in one building. We're talking about all of our classrooms, all of our students in every subject. In order to do this, it really requires constant modeling of practices, sharing of practices, and a refinement of our effective instructional practices. One of the increasing demands that we have faced from the DESE, which is the Department of Ed, is really a higher accountability in terms of teacher effectiveness. And our district strategy also demands this as well. In order to get that global impact, that what we're looking for, we need to put all aspects of teaching and learning under a microscope. This position is designed to do just that in terms of looking at the curriculum, looking at instructional practices, looking at teacher performance, and also looking at student outcomes. So some of the roadblocks that have prevented our principals from currently doing this to the manner to which they should be doing it is really quite simply the mandates that we have experienced coming down from the Department of Ed or the DESE over the years. The mandates have been many. We have professional development mandates, we have regulations around English language learners, we have regulations now around our regular ed teachers having to have certain number of hours in special education training, we have crisis prevention training, we have medical training, we have new laws with bullying, civil rights, district determined measures, safety concerns, training planning, all of that. And that really just scratches the surface of what the demands are from the DESE.
Jane, just quick, who's handling all those right now?
So right now, the principals are handling all of those, and the principals are also ultimately responsible for all of the teaching and learning that's happening in the classroom. So what I'm saying to you is that all of these demands that are coming down from the DESE are making it very difficult for the principals to be doing that.
So it'll free them up.
So it'll free them up. So what ends up happening, Chris, is that every time we get another demand from the DESE, that's taking valuable time away from our students.
Definitely
And the
is.
reason why it's taking valuable time away from our students is because it's taking valuable time away from our principals. And the truth of the matter is that if we want to move this district from a really, really good district to a great district, we have to make sure that we are never, ever taking our eye off of the classroom, not for 1 minute. Because if we choose to do that, then we're going to be losing ground. Because in the classroom every day is really where the rubber hits the road. And this position would allow us to keep that classroom as our number one priority. Does that make sense?
Definitely does.
Okay. All right, so administratively, this position would be able to work with staff on creating things like a database for all of our curriculum to be stored in one place. The continuous work that we need to do on curriculum needs to be directly linked to our classrooms. The consistent work of a director of teaching and learning would make this the norm in our classrooms instead of the exception. It would become embedded into the culture, much like our assessment meetings have become embedded into our culture, and much like our professional development now has become embedded into our culture. Another thing that the Director of Teaching and Learning would be able to do is to provide some leadership to our specialist areas. When I talk about our specialist areas, I'm talking about music, art teachers, PE teachers, media center teachers, they need to grow in their profession just as well as our special education teachers do and our general ed teachers do. What ends up happening on professional development days is we are gearing that practice towards special ed and regular ed. Right now, what's happening is these particular teachers are taking time and they are finding their own professional development, and for the most part, they're doing a great job at it. But if we really want that to be consistent and we really want teachers' development to be sustained over a period of time, we need to be looking at it all the time, not just on our professional development days. So does that make sense to you as well?
Definitely does.
Okay. So in the end, we are clearly adding an administrative position to the mix. However, this administrator would not have the responsibilities of running a school. This person would not have the responsibilities of running a district. This administrator would be responsible for curriculum, teaching and learning, and it would bring a higher level of accountability to our classroom, which in the end ultimately would have a positive impact on all of our students. The bottom line is, through our district strategy, we have a lot of work to do. I am very excited about the work. I'm really anxious to get going with that work. We have put together a very solid, practical, and thoughtful district strategy that the school committee voted on in the beginning of the school year. If that strategy is executed correctly, if it's executed with a sense of urgency, I know that it can help us realize our vision and bring that district strategy. It will really help us get our school district from a really, really good school district to a great school district. When we were talking about implementing the strategy, all through my fact-finding process, we talked a whole lot about going slow to go fast. Let's be really thoughtful in collecting our data. Let's be really thoughtful on our analysis. Let's be really thoughtful in reporting out what the district strategy looks like. Let's go slow to go fast. I'm sitting here and telling you it's time that we need to pick up the pace. We need to now step on the gas, and the district director of teaching and learning can certainly help us do that and really move that strategy forward.
What is it that the principal currently is not doing to help progressively develop the classroom?
That's a great question. It's not what they're not doing to help the classrooms move forward. The problem is what's happening is that so many other things are getting into their day that there simply aren't enough hours in the day to be in the classroom, the time that they need to be in the classroom in order to keep that classroom experience under a microscope.
The principal?
Principal. So,
Is in classrooms?
oh gosh, yes. When I was a principal at Summer Street School, I actually had the luxury of being in classrooms every day, almost all day. And the reason why I had that luxury of doing that is because we didn't have the mandates that we have right now. These mandates have come down over the past 5 to 6 years, and mandates are not. We don't have the luxury of just saying, you know what, Department of Ed, we don't think we're gonna work on that right now, because we have a couple of things we need to work on. Mandates are called mandates for a reason. And when the Department of Ed tells you that you need to develop district-determined measures, and it's non-negotiable, you need to do that. And when they tell you that you need to make sure that you have a very thoughtful bullying policy in place, you need to do that. And in the manner of the way Lynnfield Public Schools works, we don't work so that we check a box. We don't work so we say, that's done, we've covered that, we've done that. The work that we do, we put a lot of time and energy into it, and we take it very seriously. So when the Department of Ed comes to us and says, these are the 6 things you need to work on, the people who are doing that work are the principals. And every time they get a mandate from the Department of Ed, it's taking them one step further away from the classroom.
Is this a mandate from a review, or is this a new mandate that's given out statewide?
Given out statewide. It's a big issue right now in education, where there are so many mandates that are coming down that are not only time on the principals and the educators, but the other whole issue of that is some of the mandates that are coming down that are non-funded, that we have to fund. So we're not the only district struggling with this for sure. Districts all over the Commonwealth are struggling with
And
this.
what are some of the other districts doing to solve this problem?
They put in positions like Director of Teaching and
I
Learning.
think a lot of districts have other administrators who are district-wide that handle these mandates. The thing what's happening in Linfield right now is these principals have been strong instructional leaders, and Jane, you're right, you were always in the classroom, every single one of these principals are in the classroom. Now because of the unfunded mandates, because they're unfunded, they're removing the principals from the classroom because they have to handle the mandates and make sure they're enforced. If not, then the district is in jeopardy, and that causes a problem. So I think this is, it's money we're already expending, at least half of the position, I think.
We'll talk about that
Yeah.
when we get further into we'll talk about what's allocated right now for that and
Yeah.
what we need to put to that in order to realize it.
Mention some of the other mandates you already did, but they just rolled off the tongue maybe.
There are so many of them. I mean, when I think about the civil rights, when I think about the bullying law, when I think about the mandates now, teachers need to have 15 professional development hours in special education. We're talking about mandates for English language learners. There are so many things that are coming down that we did not have 5, 6, 7 years ago. And like I said, we don't have the luxury to say, we're gonna put a hold on that right now because we don't have the manpower, we can't figure out how to do that. We need to get it done. But every time we are taking principals or we're taking people in leadership roles away from the classrooms, our classrooms are suffering from that. Because the way that our classrooms become better and the way that our teachers become better is that constant reflection and that constant feedback. I will tell you, there's not a teacher in this district who does not appreciate that feedback. And I was in classrooms today with Brian Bemis at Huckleberry Hill. We were in 4 classrooms and we were able to talk very thoughtfully about the feedback that we would give to those teachers to make them better at their practice. That was premium, carved out time to do that. Were there 4 other things that I could have been doing or Brian could have been doing? Absolutely. But there are certain things that we just get on the calendar and it's non-negotiable. But that's once every 2 weeks I might be doing that with Brian. That's really not enough time. If we really want to be serious about our district strategy and we really want to go to the top of the class, we need to get as close to the classroom as we can every single day to help teachers perfect their practice. And in my opinion, this Director of Teaching and Learning is the vehicle to get us there. Okay? All right, so the next proposal is tuition-free full-day kindergarten. So this proposal is really about redefining our kindergarten program. It's about offering a high-quality program that all students can access for success in what some may say are the most important years of their educational career. So lots of conversation and thought has gone into this proposal, spanning over the course of probably a couple of years. Conversations behind closed doors in our professional learning communities in our elementary buildings are taking place during team meetings. They're taking place during data assessment meetings. And the conversations that we're having right now are centered around problem solving and troubleshooting that ongoing dilemma of the increased demands with little or no wiggle room for time due to the current program and structure. So one of the things that I have been able to say to parents as a leader of the learning at the elementary level was that I could stand up in front of them at kindergarten open orientation evening when we're talking about full day and 0.7 because it's a choice parents have currently. And I could say to them that with every fiber of my body, I will tell you that this is a personal choice. It's a family choice. And whether you decide to send your child to 0.7 kindergarten or you decide to send your child to full day kindergarten, I will stand here and tell you that academically they'll be on level playing ground. That academically, when they go to first grade, the data will tell us that a 0.7 student has the same academic foundation as a full day student. We were able to do that in a very succinct way before 2011. And so the change in 2011 was that, again, our Department of Education decided that they were going to ramp up the rigor of kindergarten. So I'm going to share some of that data with you, but before I do that, I just want to go back to a little bit of what I said before, is that when I said that to parents in 2004, 2005, 2006, and so on, we could do it and we could do it easily. Now it's becoming more and more difficult to do that. As I said earlier in the presentation, we are not in the business in Linfield Public Schools of just covering material to say that we've taught it. When we are thinking about teaching those students whom we feel very privileged to serve, we are thinking about it in a very reflective and thoughtful manner. We don't teach to the masses just to say, we're done, we did that unit, move on. We are really teaching to mastery, and we're really looking at the students who are sitting in front of us. And the way that our kindergarten program is right now, it's making it very, very difficult to really create that intellectually curious learner that we're talking about, and to really maximize their skills and their full potential. And when I show some of these slides to you, I'm hoping that you'll have a better understanding of that. So let's just look at this slide for a minute. So basically what this slide is telling us is that on the left-hand side, so in 2001, this shows that the ELA framework for kindergarten, and I'm going to simplify this for in the essence of time. So, I'm sorry, English Language Arts, thank you, Mrs. Campbell. English Language Arts, the Department of Ed told our kindergarten teachers that they were responsible for 15 standards. So what that meant is that they needed to teach 15 standards. The caveat on that is they did not need to teach those 15 standards to mastery. They needed to expose the children to it. So what I mean by that is in 2001, we had a spiraling effect with the Massachusetts State Frameworks, which meant you got to teach those 15 standards during kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. So children, by all accounts, had 3 years to master it. So you fast forward to 2011, and we're telling a different story. The story we're telling in 2011 is the Department of Education said, okay, we're changing the rules now. Now, kindergarten will get their own standards, first grade will get their own standards, and second grade will get their own standards. And in kindergarten, you now have 43 standards that you need to teach to mastery. Not just for exposure, not just to lightly cover it, not just to read a book and say that you've covered that, you've done that standard. It's about mastery. When you're talking about mastery, you're talking about accountability. When you're talking about accountability, you're talking about increased assessment. When you're talking about increased assessment, you're talking about increased action plans for those students who are not meeting our needs in the assessment. So this is just a quick bird's eye view of what has changed in English Language Arts from just a snapshot. So the next thing I'm going to show you is what some of the language has changed. So in June of 2001, in the English Language Arts and Literacy Framework, the language said we needed to continue to address earlier standards as needed, which speaks directly to the fact that those standards were exposure. You don't see anything in that language that says that we have to teach to mastery. So we're talking about kindergarten. If we're continuing to address earlier standards as needed, we can pretty much do that in a very good kindergarten curriculum. Now, if you fast forward to March 2011, they've upped the ante for us. They're telling us that students advancing through the grades are expected to meet each year's grade-specific standards. Remember, there are 43 of them, and retain only in ELA, and retain or further develop skills in understanding mastered in preceding grades.
So is
So-
that the current rule?
That's the current rule right there. So you actually don't have to be an educator to see the difference between how that has really ramped up and how it really has become rigorous. So this is, the next slide is just an example of what the expectation is. So in 2001, the expectation was that kids were going to be able to print upper and lowercase letters of the alphabet. Go down to letter F on the right-hand side at 2011. Now the expectation is that not only are they going to print upper and lowercase letters, but they have to produce and expand complete sentences in shared language activities, along with all of those other standards that I won't read to you. So as you can see, it really has ramped up to a level that is much higher than it was when we first implemented full day K back in 2004, over the past few years. So this is just another quick example of what it looks like from a math standpoint. In math, the standard was to use objects and drawings to model and solve related addition and subtraction problems to 10. So now in 2011, we're expecting kids to decompose numbers less than or equal to 10 into pairs in more than one way by using objects, drawings, and record each decomposition by a drawing or equation. That's kindergarten. So the standard has really, really been ramped up. So I don't expect you to be able to see everything on this map, but I'm putting it here for a visual for you. So what I'd like you to take out of this visual is that every community in white is now a tuition-free full-day K community. Currently, there are 262 communities that offer full-day tuition. That is depicted on this map, which is 2014, 2015. The 2015, the 2016 map has not been published yet. We are constantly calling this agency Strategies for Children to see if we can get our hands on the 15-16 map, and it will not be out until later on in March. But let me just tell you what some of the communities are. So on the North Shore, the communities that already offer a free, tuition-free full-day K are Hamilton, Wenham, Essex, Manchester, Rockport, Swampscott, Marblehead, Ipswich, North Andover, Sudbury is not on the North Shore, but I have a story about that. Wakefield, Foxborough is currently speaking to their town about it as well. Sudbury and Wakefield this year implemented it just this past school year, and they implemented it all in one fell swoop as well. I actually spoke to Ann Wilson, who is the superintendent in Sudbury, and I also spoke to Kim, who's the superintendent in Wakefield. And the first question I said to them is, just tell me why. And as they were telling their story, it is the exact same story that I'm telling to you tonight, which is we need to make sure that we have accessible, high-quality education for all our students, especially our kindergarten students, and not only the academic demands from our Department of Ed, but also, so those are, I call those demands that are thrust upon us from the outside, but also the emotional and social needs of our kids coming into us also deem this to be truly a need and not a want as we're looking through our budget and saying what's important. I will tell you that I believe that Linfield has one of the best school systems around. It's a very high quality school system, and the reason why we are that way is because this town has always made the decision to do what's best for students. And I will tell you, is it easier for me to sit here and never bring this up? It's much easier for me to come to a budget meeting and never bring this up, because the truth of the matter is I'm probably the only one who's going to bring it up, right? It's easier just to leave it as is and just continue along our merry way. But with all due respect, I don't get paid to make easy decisions and to bring easy things before boards. I get paid to bring decisions in front of boards that are in the best interest of all our students. And when we're talking about what's in the best interest of all our students, certainly a tuition-free full-day K at this point makes sense. This is a long-term investment, not only for the students whom we're privileged to serve, but also for our school district as a whole. And so the next area that I'd like to talk about is really about reallocating classroom teachers. So when we start our budget process, the conversation always takes place between what are wants and what are needs. What do we want and what do we need in order to make our district the very best it can be? And as we were doing that assessment this year, we realized that at our elementary schools, our numbers for our first and second grade, one at each of our elementary schools, we're going to be going on the cusp of very high numbers, starting the year off at 25. And our history would tell us that that's probably not a very good road to go down. So before jumping on this request, we thought that it would be hugely responsible for us to look across the district and really look at all of our numbers very carefully. And as we looked at our numbers very carefully, one of the things that we figured out was that beginning the school year next year, some of our classrooms in our middle school were going to be starting off with the numbers of 17. And I am never going to stand up and say that that's okay in any way, shape, or form. You lose one student and you're down to 16, you lose two students and you're down to 15, and it's just not fiscally responsible for us to be running classrooms with those kinds of numbers. So we did a lot of soul searching again, a lot of sitting down with the building principal, Stephen Ralston at the middle school, and my directive to him was very clear. And the directive was, you need to tell me if you feel like this would be a detrimental impact to what we're trying to build for your middle school right now. It is no secret that the middle school is very much one of our top priorities in this district. It is no secret that we have given the middle school a lot of resources. It is also no secret that we're starting to make some headway in our middle school. So the very last thing we want to do is to make a decision at the middle school that's going to step us 2 steps backwards. So as we really sat down and thought about all of that, it was clear to us that by taking one teacher from 5th grade and one teacher by 6th grade, we could still very much keep intact and really maintain the integrity of the programming that we have worked so hard to put in place at the middle school. So what I mean by that is, when you think about all of the different things that we have put in place at the middle school, we have put the data assessment meetings that have followed true with the data assessment meetings that we've done at the elementary school that have proven to be hugely successful in moving students from point A to point B. We have put in academic tutors for math and English language arts at the middle school to mirror the work that we've done at the elementary school. So those tutors are working specifically with students who are struggling in content areas. Stephen Wilson has done a phenomenal job of looking at his schedule. I think it's 2 years now he changed his schedule so that there would be more time in the content areas. That has been hugely responsible for helping us move further. The whole professional development, what our students are getting on, what our teachers are getting on their professional development days, that really, not a big umbrella professional development, but professional development that really is going to help move their practice from A to B. So all of those things put in to the middle school over the years, we felt very strongly that taking 2 teachers in the middle school and reallocating them to the elementary school, we would still be able to maintain the successes that we've had there. And our class size, so let me just see if that's the next, all right. So our class size would actually stay within the class size guidelines, hopefully it will come up, the class size guidelines that the school committee has deemed appropriate. So it's not coming up, but I will tell you that grade 1 projected average class size for next year is 19, grade 2 is 20, grade 3 is 20, grade 4 is 21, grade 5 is 22, grade 6 is 20, grade 7 is 22, and grade 8 is 24. So all of that really falls within what we deem to be appropriate. And so the other thing that we did is we also wanted to be really clear and make sure that if we're changing this for this year, that we're not scrambling next year and having to change it all over again. So we did the projection out, and it looks like, and this is, I don't have a crystal ball, but if the numbers stay the way that we believe that they're going to stay, that this model will be safe until we'll have to look at it again in the year 2021. So we felt like that was reasonable to make that reallocation at this point.
No, Jane, will that bubble come right up to the middle school in the next couple of years?
Well, so the first and second grades, yes.
So those teachers will follow that bubble as we need to reallocate them to move up to the middle school?
Presumably, yes.
Okay,
Yep.
now certainly we've put a lot of resources, the middle school being a level 2 school, I know it's one of our priorities, get this district to a level 1. Are there resources, is this a resource we're removing? I understand moving the need for the teachers at the elementary school, but is there resources we need to increase at the middle school, or are we comfortable right now?
So what I would say is when we look at that, so you can't just throw resources at a problem just to say we're just going to give it more resources. It really needs to be thought out. Right now, we believe that the middle school has just about everything it needs to continue to be successful. Of course, we believe that the director of teaching and learning, getting into those classrooms, and really seeing teachers on a day-to-day basis will also help. But we do not feel at this time that we need to be adding another tutor. We feel very confident with what we have there.
So you're comfortable with what we have?
Very comfortable. In fact, I think it's at not Tuesday night school committee meeting, but the following school committee meeting, Stephen Ralston is actually going to be sharing how the tutors are working. He just put in a new curriculum center at the middle school, so he's going to be talking about that. So we really feel like we're on solid ground there. The most important thing that I can say is that we believe that this will not compromise the integrity of any program or any classroom at the middle school, and we feel like it's really being fiscally responsible. Just because somebody is somewhere, right, just because we have a position somewhere, doesn't mean it always has to be that way. The budget process is looking at everything that we have and really thinking about what's working, what's not working, and what's our end game, and how are we best going to get there.
So those classes, and so it's gonna be 5th to 6th grade, we're moving to the elementary.
Yes,
So they can go from 17 to 19?
22, it was
Yeah,
just up
so
there.
it's within,
Which
so
is
it's
still.
pretty healthy, pretty good number.
Grade
still.
5 is 20 to 24, grade 6 is 20 to 24. So grade 5 will be running at 22 and grade 6 will be running at 20.
Perfect.
So back up.
Make
Make sense?
Perfect. We need to put
Okay.
this TV somewhere else.
Say it again? Oh, you don't like that?
Yeah, we need a second one.
All right, so the next proposal we have,
So I have
I'm
a
sorry.
question before we go on.
Sure.
At the middle school, there were some issues in the past that a lot of parents had with the progressiveness of the education for their kids.
Right.
And is it prudent now, if you finally have that solved, to now take teachers away? I get the fiscal responsibility is the opposite of what you argued at the first point. But for this here, is this gonna be too much of a risk to potentially lose some of these children in the shuffle?
So we don't believe that we're gonna lose children in the shuffle at all, because they're actually going to go from one teacher in 4th grade to 2 teachers in 5th grade, which is not the case right now. And to your point about the curriculum, that's a great point. So taking one of the teachers away, if we continue on the vein of making sure that our curriculum is pristine, right? So everything that we're teaching is absolutely pristine. We keep our assessment practices pristine with the curriculum in what we do with those assessment practices. So that's where the tutors come in. We keep so at the very beginning I said we can never take our eye off the classroom, right? So we have a very close eye on the classroom at the middle school with the data assessment meetings. The middle school is actually ahead of the curve when it comes to the curriculum database. They've worked really hard on their curriculum database. So we're not taking away any part of that curriculum. We're not taking away any part of that instructional practice. We're taking away one of the practitioners. So we're not weakening any part of the services at all. We're taking away one of the teachers, which will add 2 or 3 more kids in a classroom. But they're actually going back to 2 teachers in 5th grade, which we also might argue that could help build more solid relationships between teachers and students.
Having
So-
larger classrooms?
No, not large, so larger by 2 or 3, having less teachers in 5th grade is what I'm saying. So instead of having 4 teachers in 5th grade, I'm going to have 2 teachers in 5th grade. So as we were talking about all the pros and cons, we said that that would actually help strengthen the relationships between the students and the teachers, for sure.
But aren't we more interested in their education? The smaller the classrooms, the more hands-on for the teacher, and the better for the student. I'm sort of losing that transition, how that's positive.
So what I'm saying is that we are very interested in the academic, that's why they're here, right?
Right.
So to provide the best academic that we can possibly provide. We would also argue with you that you can't do much with the academics unless you build the relationships. And so the argument that we're putting forward is that this will actually help our students build stronger relationships with less adults in 5th grade. So they're coming from 1 teacher in 4th grade and they'll be going to 2 teachers in 5th grade. They'll actually have less kids that they're serving overall, but they'll have more kids in that one classroom of 22.
And what are the guidelines for the middle school?
20 to 24, and then 7 and 8 is reasonable class size. That's
So
what
we're
it's
right
for.
now way below that. And quite possibly, if we kept it as is, if we lose a student, it'd be down to 15, 16.
16 or 15.
So it'd be below our own guidelines.
It wasn't so much the guidelines, it was more of what the parents' feedback.
Yeah, no,
from their
that's-
kids, which really, the charts are meaningless when we're talking about that.
Right.
Yeah.
But to your point about the parents' feedback, I think you make a really good point about that curriculum, right? So that curriculum is not being changed at all. So that's what we're saying, is that all of those great things that we've put in place over the past few years are staying strong. And we believe that those are the things that are really helping the middle school get from here to here. So
As
we're
long
not
as we're
changing all of
progressive
that.
and we don't wind up taking, what we think is a step forward and fall back 10 steps.
Right, and so that is just such a great point, because we talked so much about that when we were talking about this proposal. We can't afford to lose ground in any way, shape, or form. We can't afford to lose ground with our kindergarten students, and we certainly can't afford to lose ground with our middle school students. And believe in me, that if I thought that for 1 minute we were going to lose ground by removing these 2 teachers, I would be screaming from the mountaintops that we need to run those classes at 17. But I do not believe in all my heart of hearts, with everything that we have put to that middle school and what I have seen, which is really great teaching in that middle school over the past year or so, I do not believe that we are going to be losing ground at all.
So the MCAS scores are going up? for
They
these
are
schools
going up.
substantially?
Well, let's not get too carried away. We're going up. We are going up. We're moving in the right direction. And so the data coming out of the classroom is telling us that we're moving in the right direction. The professional development that the teachers is getting is telling us that we're moving in the right direction. So, as long as we keep moving in the right direction, which is forward, right? We can continue to have the conversation. The minute we stand still or start to move backwards, then all bets are off.
Right.
Then we have to go right back to ground zero and say, what the heck is going on and what do we need to do to fix this? Because we can't afford, our kids can't afford that. They have to get the very best every single day. They have to. And I do not believe, nor does my administrative leadership team believe, that by reallocating these 2 teachers is going to compromise that in any way for our students. But trust me, we will be keeping a very, very close eye on that as we move forward,
Great.
okay?
Mhm.
All right, ready to move on to music?
Ready to move on.
Okay, all right, so this proposal is to make 1 full-time music educator at each elementary building. There are many benefits from this. Currently, we have 1.5, so we have 1.5 teachers basically at the elementary level. We would like to up this to 1 teacher at each of the buildings. It would really help us have an ongoing focus for the interdisciplinary planning that's happening right now between the classroom teachers and the music educators. For example, the music educators are helping the grade 1 teachers teach their technology standards. They're helping their grade 3. They're supporting with their math concepts such as fractions as they're writing their music and working on the instruments. And in grade 4, they're helping them with their science study of sound. The other benefit that we would get from this is that we would have students performing at a younger level, at a younger age. We would have, right now, the only times that our students get to perform at the elementary level from a music standpoint is at our one night a year at the Fine Arts Night, and that's if the students choose to go, and also at our Moving On. So it might offer us an opportunity to have a choral group at the elementary level. It certainly would give us time for our students to have more exposure to music in general, and it would also, we believe, help as we try to build this feeder program that goes from our middle school and into our high school. We also recognize, know, and understand that for some of our students, the arts is really where they excel, and it's where they have their safety, right? So it's where they are able to be happy and be comfortable and be confident. And we believe that having one full-time teacher at both of the buildings would offer the students just more time for that success in the music program. So, so the next proposal is special education. So the current special education preschool program is going to require a more intensive level of programming for the next school year. And so that is what this is about. We are requesting a 0.6 teacher for with addition, a paraprofessional. And this basically is to meet the needs of our students. There's an emerging preschool population that we need to make sure that we are offering them a high quality programming. And so this is not a surprise to us. We knew, 2 years ago as these students were entering that this was going to make its way into the budget as we had to look at their programming. So this is basically what that's about.
So what do the numbers look like in this program?
It's the preschool program, and so there are under 10 children
Per class?
per this particular class.
But you have peer models.
Yes, exactly.
Why don't you explain?
Well, so our integrated, thank you, Ms. Campbell, our integrated program is a program that they have an opportunity to be with peer models, as Mrs. Campbell said, throughout the day. And so, how many people in a preschool program right now?
So right now, we have 2 teachers running 2 separate sessions. So looking ahead to next year, we're finding the need to extend the programming for some of our students. They require a longer day to ensure that they're receiving all their specialized programming. So that right there takes up some staffing, because right now each teacher is running 2 half-day sessions. So next year we need 1 teacher to run a full-day session, and then we need another teacher to run 2 half-day sessions, but that would be a 3 and a 4-year-old, or we have enough 4-year-olds, I should say, to run 2 half-day classes next year. So we need a new teacher to take in our new 3-year-olds, because if we didn't have that new teacher, then we would not be able to accept incoming 3-year-olds, and we actually can't do that because we have students coming in through early intervention throughout the year who require our programming. So we want to have enough students to create an integrated model at our 3-year-old level as well. So that really, so it's expanding the need for full-day programming for some of our students, but then also allowing us the opportunity to take in new 3-year-olds, if that makes sense.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
I can
Yeah.
expand if you want.
Go ahead.
If you want to expand, I'd like to have it come up to the mic, because there's dozens of people at home watching.
Sure, only, if you'd like me to. Do you want me to?
Yes, please, yeah.
So would you like me to kind of?
Yeah, if you do it, I don't know if anybody picked that up on the, at the
Sure.
home.
So looking ahead to our preschool model, we've really taken a focus on our special education programming to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students. And some of our students require more intensive programming at the preschool level. They need a combination of both the integration as well as more intensive, either one-to-one or very small group programming. So based on the students that we have in our current preschool population, we have a need to expand that level of programming, which will take up the time of one full-time teacher. So then we right now have 2 full-time teachers devoted to our preschool. So if one of those teachers takes their full day to meet the needs of one group of students, we have another teacher who could then teach 2 half-day sessions. And we have enough current 3-year-olds who will be 4 next year to take up both of those sessions. So we didn't want to eliminate taking in 3-year-olds. So we need another part-time teacher to be able to take in our new incoming 3-year-olds and to have an integrated model for 3-year-old students. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Does this also help keep the kids in district as they get older? Is this tied in? Is this tied in with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's right tied into the programming that we've developed across the district. We're modeling this preschool program based on our elementary, our middle, and our high school versions of our differentiated learning program. So it's quite intensive, a team approach based on academic readiness skills as well as therapeutic and adaptive skills. So it's highly successful now. We just see a need to expand the students' day because right now we're running all part-time programs. And also to be competitive with other programs, they're running full day.
Yes, and the success of your program is obviously been shown over the years, and keeping the kids in district is not only beneficial for the children.
Absolutely.
It's a significant savings to the town.
Absolutely.
And I think what's one child out of district? It could be $100,000.
Depending on the complexity of their needs, it could range from the $60,000 to $100,000
Yeah.
a year range. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Plus transportation.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay,
Good, Jean.
all right, good. Okay, so this is the breakdown, maybe this breakdown will come up.
Thinking about it.
All right, so let me talk about
It'll
it.
pop up, yeah.
It will pop up. Say it again? It broke the breakdown broke down. Okay, so, the FY '17, there it is, new funding request. So the new position of Director of Teaching and Learning would be a net cost of $50,000. The preschool .6 and paraprofessional would be approximately $57,000, and the .5 elementary music teacher would be $41,000.
The director's position, is that 50,000 on top of
That is-
whatever the person is leaving, so what is that compensation?
So it's
on top?
$120,000,
120.
because that position, right, so we have the $70,000 right now.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep.
Okay, all right, so this is probably the most difficult slide to speak to because full day K, our current full day K program brings in revenue for us each year. And that revenue is needed and that revenue needs to be accounted for. And I'm standing in front of you and I'm proposing something that is going to have a loss of revenue. But making full day K compulsory for all our students, as I said earlier, is definitely a long-term investment for all of our students and for our school district. So I'm going to explain to you how and why this works, not only for the FY '17 budget, but also why it will be sustainable. And Tom Geary is here as well to help me answer any questions that you might have. So this is a very unique year in terms of hiring. So we had an unprecedented number of very veteran staff abruptly leave over the summer months, well after the budget process was complete. So we had 5 resignations in July and August. And so one of the things that we are working very hard on is our hiring practices. And our district strategy, it comes out under meeting the needs of all students, making sure that we are retaining the best of the best, and when we hire people, we are hiring the best of the best. And so when we are doing our hiring practices, we are very intentional, we are very thoughtful, and we are very calculated in filling the positions. We are looking for certain skill sets. And so in this instance, for this year, we had 5 people leave at a very high rate, and we were able to hire personnel who came in at a much lower rate. And so we were able to do this without compromising, again, the integrity of any of our programming or any of our classrooms. So to some degree, we do experience this every year. And what I mean by this is we may have one teacher leave in the summer months, which was so unique about this is that we had so many leave. And so this is really an opportunity for us to capitalize upon that. So if you can get that screen back up there, I want you to look at the impact of that. Okay, good. So what is going to happen is we have a revolving account for our kindergarten tuition. And because we have the savings this year, we are able to take $278,000 to offset this budget FY16. Next year, we can take out of that account $160,000. In FY18, we can take out $100,000, and in FY19, we can offset the budget by $45,000. So as we move forward, the incremental cost of what has to be absorbed into our budget is much more manageable, and ultimately will be able to be absorbed in the entire budget. Now, I know Tom Gary also provided you with a separate document tonight. The bottom line is, this is very unique, and we are not in the business of giving up revenue. We have had many, many long conversations and working sessions with the school committee, with the finance director, and we believe that we have figured out a way to make this work that will help us strengthen our current program for our learners and ultimately make this long-term investment for our students. So I can answer questions about this now, Tom can answer questions about this now, or we can move on to capital.
No, I think I'd like to have a couple questions on this.
Okay.
So this is something that has obviously been one
Yep.
of the big buzz things in your budget. The free tuition is certainly more philosophical. It obviously is not a good financial move. You have, on the budget I have here, we're gonna be giving up by FY20 about $278,000. That's, I'm sure it's an estimate at this time, but based on today's dollars, we're talking about $278,000 being given up of a revenue stream that we're having today that you're bringing in. Based on today's numbers, how many students are in the kindergarten?
So we have,
About 175.
So you got 175 students in the not in the full, but in the morning. What the point? The full plus the 0.7. What's
175.
175. And out of that 175, how many do not take the afternoon?
we have 22 registered for .7.
All right, so you got 22 at 0.7. Okay. Now, out of those 22, do you have any idea how many will continue to stay if you offer the afternoon free? I mean, because you don't know the reasons that they aren't there.
There are varied reasons.
Yeah, there's varied reasons, but do we know
Right.
if that's for 22 kids, are we gonna be, you're gonna be getting 15 of them, 10 of them? Do you have any idea?
So the way that this would work is that if this passes in the budget, we would offer only a full-day kindergarten program.
So, only full day?
Right, so
Okay.
see, the whole problem is, the .7 program, the structure of that .7 program is not allowing us to offer a high-quality, balanced program for all students. Because we have 22 students across the district, so we do not have enough students in either one of the buildings to run a full, .7 class. So those students are embedded into our full-day programming.
Right.
So our entire schedule is based on that 0.7 schedule. So what I mean by that
Yeah,
is
so the teaching in the afternoon is,
all of the academics need to be taught before those students
Right.
leave at noontime. And so the afternoon is really about exploratories, it's about PE, it's about music.
Yeah.
And if you really wanna run a balanced program, some would argue that it's best to have PE in the morning. Some would argue that it's best to have 2 hours of academics and then a break with music. And the way that the current structure of the program is, it doesn't allow us to do that. When we didn't have the rigor from the DESE, we were not locked in to teaching those academics with such sense of urgency, because the demands were not nearly as high. But now that the demands are high, we are locked into that time. And it is hit, go, and run, and get all of this information taught. But you are right, you are not wrong when you say, to some degree, it's a philosophical argument, but to some degree, I will tell you that the philosophical part gets taken out of it if we're not serving the needs of all of our students.
right. And I understand that extra hour and a half, or hour and 3/4 in the afternoon is, there's no teaching going on other than arts or PE or.
It makes it very
Yeah.
difficult when parents are sending their kids to a 0.7 program and we're telling them that we're going to serve them academically.
Right.
It makes it very difficult to then turn around and teach academics that the 0.7 kids are not getting in the afternoon.
So the struggle here, I'm sure, and I wasn't involved with your school committee meetings, but I'm sure the struggle was to give up that kind of income to serve the 22 students that aren't participating at this point.
But I would argue that it's not just about those 22 students,
Right.
because the entire program is being impacted.
Right, you'll be able to add academic content to that extra hour and 45 minutes
We will
to
be
the
able
whole
to have,
group.
that's right, we'll be
Right.
able to have a more balanced program.
Right.
You know, and I also would say the argument that, you know, here in Linfield, I would say that we are given the responsibility to serve all kids. And so if we're leaving 7 kids out, or if we're leaving 20 kids out, or if we're leaving 100 kids out, that deserves to have a conversation. And so that's why it's on the table. Because not only are some kids not having the opportunity to have that full day high quality programming, but because of the rigors that are coming down, that are thrust upon us from the outside,
Right.
it is really compromising the entire program. And when I spoke to the superintendent from Sudbury and I spoke from the superintendent from Wakefield, they both said the exact same thing, that it just got to a point where enough is enough, we need to do something about this.
Right.
And the difference is, I believe in Wakefield, they went in front of town meeting and they actually asked for a very, like $300,000 in that first year to cover the cost.
Right.
So I'm not sitting here saying that this is easy. I'm not sitting here and saying that it's as simple as just do it. I'm sitting here and saying that if we really are in the market of serving all of our children and offering the highest quality programming for our kids, that it's the right thing to do.
Right, so it's a philosophical decision, much more than financial, I would think.
It's absolutely, I mean, so, yes, I mean, but you know what, the budget season is really about, it's about giving and taking, right?
Sure.
It's about making those hard decisions, that are costly. And, you know, that's what makes this so difficult, it makes it very, very difficult. But I'll go back to the fact that, in my opinion, we need to do what's right for all kids in our district.
Yeah, was there any discussion of some sort of scholarship program, especially where you have such a large amount of the parents that are willing to pay for it? Or-
So,
yeah.
we did talk about that, but to be honest with you, that becomes very, very, very complicated because my history would tell me that not everybody is going to come forward and ask for that scholarship. I've had many parents that I've sat at the table with who, over the years, have said to me, I can't afford it, and I'm not sending my kids, but you're not allowed to talk to me about it.
Right.
And if I bring up free and reduced lunch, I absolutely positively will not do that, so don't ask me again. And I just, that's not right.
Right.
It just simply is not right.
Jen, what is the status? I know the state's considering a grant. I know it's in Ways and Means right now. They're looking at a possible grant for
Right, so
free
we're actually pretty excited about that, because if the wording of that grant comes down the right way, we might actually be eligible for it. We're not always eligible for grants, as you well know. I mean, we just don't have the demographics for that.
Yeah.
We don't always get access to that money, but my understanding is that the wording of that kindergarten grant may be tweaked so that it can service communities like ours. And so Tom and I are very much on top of that, and we will follow that every bit of the way to see if that's something that we can access.
So to qualify for that grant, I would think we would have to have free kindergarten at that point.
Step number one.
Excellent.
You
You
have
should
to-
get up and lobby at the State House.
That's exactly what he's doing.
Can you tell me, what's the revenue source here? You're charging for
Tom.
a half day?
Yeah, we charge $2,600 for the full day.
And we've, so the other thing to keep in mind is that we started that in 2004, and that tuition has really never been raised. And that's paying for a 0.3 program, because we offer a 0.7 program.
Now, where does I don't know how closely related it is, but where's the earnings for the busing kids to and from school? You're earning money with that as well, right?
Yeah, that goes to the town, that's general fund money.
All of it goes into town, it's not being accumulated
It goes
at
to,
all?
I believe it's in a town revolving account, I think.
Does it get transferred out maybe at the end?
You know, we collect it.
You said a revolving account, right?
It goes into a town account.
There's no revolving account, that it goes to general fund as
It
far
goes
as
to
I'm
general
aware.
fund, right?
It's just general fund revenue.
I mean, it's not, it's a immense program, I think it raises $5,000 to $8,000, something like that.
So Jane, the 2,600 that's being charged, that's just for the afternoon hours?
That's right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the 0.7 is paid for by
That
the
is
town.
right. That is correct.
Mrs. Campbell?
It is wonderful to hear a superintendent talk about student learning. It's wonderful. I really appreciate the comments you made. As far as full-time kindergarten, I certainly agree with that we should be providing free access to full-time kindergarten for all of the children. Massachusetts is at the top of the entire country in achievement. A lot of people don't know that, and I say it whenever I get the opportunity, because I don't think we appreciate in Massachusetts how well we do with our students. By all measures, we are at the top in the country, and we've been there for 6 or 7 years. That means, though, that our children have to achieve at high levels, and we have to give them the opportunity to do that. All of our children. As I understand it, Huckleberry Hill School is a Title I school. That's not something that came in with the children from various housing developments. It's been here for some time. I've sometimes questioned it, but there are a number of children at the Huckleberry Hill School that qualify for free and reduced lunch. Their parents may not have the means in a community where, according to the Boston Globe in February, where the median income is $114,000. So that's a pretty high level to compete with. The children, how many children at Huckleberry do qualify for free and reduced lunch?
It's in the 9 to 10% range.
9 and 10%. Okay, so I think we need to care about all children. I agree with you totally. Superintendent Trombley. So we pretty much talked about the how many the parents are paying for the 3/10. And I like your analysis, and I like the way you're thinking about creatively about changing positions, teaching positions. So anyhow, the director of teaching and learning position, with that, I'm a little bit on the fence with that. It's not 50,000, it's really 120,000 a year, and that's going to continue to escalate. I'm not sure that the argument is convincing as it should be for that position. You mentioned professional learning communities. You and I mentioned that. That what that is that teachers collaborate and work with the children together. For instance, all of the teachers at one grade level, and hopefully they chart how the children are attaining the goals, the learning goals, regularly. If they chart it, and I'm sure they probably do, how they know that some children are lagging a little bit behind others, and they wonder why if they can see maybe one teacher does a better job of addressing the children's needs in a certain skill area, and share with one another what the models are. So I'm not sure how highly developed we are in Linfield with professional learning communities, but it does help to where teachers can model for each other how to teach certain skills based on the data that they collect. Do the teachers in Linfield get common learning time, common planning time?
Depending on the school, depending on the schedule.
Okay, because that helps to advance this kind of professional learning community. We also have curriculum specialists at each of the schools. Do we have them in math as well as in English language arts?
Correct.
Yes. So are they modeling teaching certain skills for the teachers?
Yes, they are.
So see, I see a little bit of crossover there. The principals are evaluating the teachers. Are they doing that by themselves? Or is there a team?
There's more than one person that evaluates each teacher.
That's good. Okay. And do the teachers do they also have a professional plan, an improvement plan, regardless of whether they're an exemplary teacher or not? We all have more learning to go forward with.
So each teacher has to develop SMART goals at the beginning of every year
Okay.
based on their strengths and weaknesses. And that's
Okay.
what they get observed and evaluated on.
Well, I'd like to hear a little bit more about the teaching and learning. As far as elementary music, I taught middle school music. One of the ways that Linfield does not keep up with some of the top communities in the state, in my field of knowledge, is in the cultural arts. I certainly think the children need to be having exposure to instruments, stringed instruments, brass instruments, percussion, whatever. One of the interesting things I discovered when I was caring for my mom, and she was at an assisted living, people in their 80s and 90s, even when their memories are fading and they have dementia, they have Alzheimer's disease, what stays with them are the arts. It's a different part of the brain. So it's really a lifetime gift when children have music. But it's not just music. They should have theater. They should have dance. It's all in the curriculum standards of Massachusetts, in the cultural arts standards. So I certainly think that's a way that we should go and we should offer that to the children. You know, it's part of a well-rounded education. It's creative. We need the children to be creative problem solvers. So I'm certainly in favor of that. And having the music teachers, helping teachers to know how to integrate. For instance, I used to do rap songs with phonics, you know, cheerleading things with phonics. Theater, when you read a play, the children perform the play. It learns it better. So, also, parent engagement has been a long time goal of my own. People need to understand that schools can't do this alone. There has to be a lot of parental, guardian, community support. And this is why 180 days of school, 6 days, 6 hours a day. The other 3/4 of the day, they're home and they're in their community. 185 days, more days than they're in school. They're home and in the community. So it's very important that parents, first of all, limit, have tech-free times, just as we did when in my generation, we had TV-free times. The kids used to come into school and say, I turned on the TV, because we'd be having no TV week. And this is where the parent groups can really help. They can get artists in residence with the fundraising they do. They can have musical evenings with families. They can have math evenings. They can have science evenings. It's very important to get everybody on board. And when people that don't even have children are out in the community and they see a child, say, how's school? What do you like the best? Recess and recess and gym. After they get over that part, what about math? What about this? Are the kids nice to you? It sometimes opens parents' eyes when a stranger says to them,
Mrs. Campbell?
how are you doing in school?
Mrs. Campbell, we got a long night here to get through. Do you have any more questions for the superintendent?
Okay. The school councils. One very important way of parent engagement is having school councils. And I haven't seen postings of school council meetings. They're supposed to be operating by open meeting law. And they address at the school level class size, professional development, enhancement of parental involvement, school safety and discipline, school climate, extracurricular activities. They're co-chaired by a parent. So very important things. It's another way to engage parents in the goals of the school. So do we have school councils meeting? We do. So can you get them posted?
I'll make sure they're posted.
So, and are you involving community members in the school councils?
There are parents and community members on each school council.
That's great, because I think it's a great mechanism that went in 1993. In my organization, the state PTA was very instrumental in getting that in. So
Okay.
I like to look after it.
Thank you, Mrs. Campbell. Okay, Jane, you can continue.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, so on to capital requests. So I'm sure it will pop up there in a minute. Our capital budget is 100% technology. The monies will be used to continue the maintenance and upgrades for the district-wide infrastructure and networking technology. We are finishing up our wireless initiative, and the total capital request is $250,000. Are there questions on this?
One-to-one initiative, is it all Chromebook right now?
Say it again?
With the one-to-one initiative? All
We-
Chromebook?
Yeah, well, we're doing Chromebook and we have some iPads, but mostly all Chromebooks.
This is the same 250 we've been allocating for the last few
Yeah,
years?
that is right.
Yeah,
It,
okay.
that's not changed at all.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
great.
all right, so the budget summary is the total appropriation request is 22.8 million. Proposed increase is 4.5, with the capital budget request of 250. Please understand, we are in the middle of negotiations with the teachers union, so there is a placeholder for that teacher's contract, and we feel very comfortable that we will settle, that contract within that placeholder.
Okay.
So I will be happy to answer any other questions that you
And
might have.
when do you think that might happen?
I'm hoping by the end of March, very early in April.
Mhm.
So we're super close.
Great, great. Any other questions?
Great job, Jay.
One quick question.
Tom?
The question I have is the Linfield Community Schools and the busing, are we operating at profits with those two items?
Tom?
Linfield Community Schools and the busing, are we operating at a profit with those two items?
What do you mean in the budget, as separate items?
Correct, separately.
I mean, community schools does offer, a bit of a profit, I'm not sure what you mean by busing.
Well, are we charging what it costs to the parents to bus their children, or is there an extra margin in there?
We charge a flat fee to bus of $100.
So are we making a profit with that, or are we
Yeah,
losing,
that
or
goes
we're
to the-
breaking?
That goes to the town general fund, it doesn't really,
So it's not in your,
No.
any of your revolver accounts?
the busing fees?
Right, that goes directly to this, to the
Yeah,
town,
Like I said, I think the total is about $5,000 that we collect for the year. It's not-
5,000 fee, okay,
I mean, roughly, we're not talking.
all right. And what about community schools?
We charge fees for those fee-based programs.
Mhm.
We charge, they operate at cost, and then, we have administrative costs on top of that. We try to, sometimes they make money, we try not to have them lose money.
And where does is there a
They
revolver
have their
account
own
for that?
They have their own.
And what's the balance in that account?
They have probably 6 different accounts.
So what's the total?
It's probably a couple $100,000 at least.
Is that being used for something, or can we use that to help defray the costs?
Yeah, we offset our budget with money from them each year, and you'll see that in that cover page that you had towards the bottom. We're using $140,000 for them as an offset.
Community schools, 140. So you're gonna take 140 from that
Yes.
$300,000, and what's the balance being reserved for?
Probably to be drawn down each year, and recreation is kicking in a little, chewing away a little bit of community schools, so I expect, the profits may not be as high year to year.
Okay, so are we saving it for something, is my question?
Not necessarily, no. I can't guarantee, I don't know year to year that the profit levels will be as high.
Is it
So in
something
order
we
to-
can
once we
maybe,
put the 140 in there, I'd like to be able to sustain it.
is it possible to maybe limit what you're carrying forward in your revolver and use that for something, some other school purpose? To help defray total cost to the parents?
I mean, it's possible. We'd like to be able to carry it, to be able to sustain the 140 every year.
Mm-hmm. So that, if you have over 300,000, there's still an extra $20,000 anyway in that account. It'd be nice to use that for the extended kindergarten care, et cetera.
We typically wouldn't use regular expenses to cover, operating budget expenses.
Well, it's better than turning it back to the town. I'm trying to keep it within the school department, so I'm trying to reassign the use of those excess funds.
I mean, those revolving funds stay with us.
Right, but what I'm saying is, but at some point, where's the cap on that? Do we just keep letting that grow? Does it get turned back over to the town for the general fund? Is the school gonna use it? You did use the 140,000. Here,
I would anticipate more, year to year, it's a decision that we make, maybe we may increase it the following year. And we try not to, I don't want to put too big of a dent in it for the fear that, maybe it's not gonna, maybe the net profit it makes next year is only, is a lesser amount.
right, but see, when you say that, I can't help but thinking you have a plan, because you're saying you're trying to maintain a certain dollar cost in this, a certain dollar amount in this account. So help me to
Not
understand.
necessarily, I mean, right now, we put it up to 140 that we're gonna have that we're using this year.
Okay,
I'd like to be able to keep it at 140. If it goes below 140 next year, then we have to draw those funds from somewhere else, to make up the difference.
so you plan on drawing from,
I would like to be able to draw another
Community
140.
schools,
I'd like to be able to draw,
140 a
now
year.
we set the threshold of 140. I want to be able to
Okay.
draw at least another 140 from it going
Okay.
forward each year.
okay, so the plan is every year to draw 140,000 from community schools?
Yes, we've upped it this year. I mean, it was 80 last year. We've upped
Okay.
it to 140.
Okay,
Yep.
just need to get an understanding, because I know that, even when my kids were in that program, it was a great program, the kids went there, had a ball.
Yep.
And no one really knew where the money went, what purpose it was serving. We know that it paid for the kids to go through community schools and have fun and run the activities, but then for sure there was a profit, and where was that profit going?
It's going back to this, trying to offset the school budget.
Okay, great, thank you.
Phil, I had one more thing that I wanted to mention. May I do that? It's regarding
Is it a question?
negotiations, yeah, before negotiations.
Just go quickly, go ahead.
Do the library media specialists and the psychologists come under the teacher's budget?
They're in our budget, absolutely.
In your budget, of course, but is it in the teacher's
Yes,
contract?
Yes.
Oh, it is. Well, then I want to mention this. In fiscal year, I just took one position, the psychologist position. In fiscal year 2012, the psychologist got a 26% increase. In fiscal year 2013, I went to media specialist there, got a 5% increase. In 2014, the psychologist got a 4% increase. In 2015, the psychologist got a 4% increase. In 2016, the psychologist got a 4% increase. The result was that in 2012, the psychologist was getting $78,938. In 2016, $162,376. That was an $83,438 increase. I'd like us to think about that. I don't think the private sector are paying those kinds of increases. So I'd like to know why.
Tom, would you like to shed some light on that?
Which school were we talking about? You gotta give me a little more detail.
Pardon me?
Tom, can we get you with a mic so other people can hear you? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we got a
Thank you.
hand, Tom, we have a handheld too, if you want. Here, come to the podium, sure.
Can you tell me which school, what you're referencing? I don't have the items from fiscal 12.
A middle school that I did those for, I try to think of how can I explain to people that we have large increases in salary that we're giving out. And so I said, how can I explain it in the simplest way? So I think it was the middle school.
Yeah, without having the 2012 numbers in front of me, I would have to say that potentially there was a change in staffing person. Perhaps we had someone.
Very well.
I'm guessing likely we had somewhere at the lower end of the salary scale. That person left, and the next year we hired somebody potentially at the higher end of the salary scale.
But one psychologist. And
We have two psychologists at
is
the middle
making
school.
100
We have two psychologists in the middle school.
That's the line item.
Two psychologists.
That's the line item. That's
So that's for two
But it's-
positions?
for two positions.
It's a
Okay.
total
But
line
it
item.
says psychologist. It doesn't. It
Okay, well
isn't
that may be a typo if it wasn't plural. We have two psychologists.
Okay, why do we have two psychologists? And we have one in the high school, one in the Huckleberry, and one, and basically.
Because they serve as guidance counselors also.
They serve as guidance
Yes,
counselors?
I believe, Jane, I'll
They
defer to
do,
you on
they
that.
serve as counselors and psychologists, they do all of our special ed testing, they see students, they wear very many hats throughout the course of the day.
But
So-
you have guidance counselors too?
No, we don't have guidance counselors at the elementary level.
Or at the middle school.
Or at the middle school, we just have school psychologists. We changed that format probably about, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago now.
You should probably look at a return of the
Are
guidance.
they called
Where we-
adjustment counselors?
So no, we also have an adjustment counselor at the high school. An adjustment counselor is different from a psychologist who is different than a guidance counselor. And that, I believe the decision was made about 10 years ago to change that to psychologists so that they could actually get more done than just a guidance counselor could do. A guidance counselor cannot do the testing on our kids. A school psychologist can do testing and can see students as well.
but it still doesn't explain the 5%, the 4%.
I think
I mean,
Tom is.
the 4 and 5% could be, you know, those are within our step increases.
Is that something you can look into?
27% is
certainly do
clearly a
that.
staffing change, I would say,
That,
in
I would say
personnel.
that you're probably right.
4 and 5% is clear, could be within our step increases, it likely is.
We have media specialists singular getting 7%, 6%, 7%, and I noticed there's certain positions that get those high increases.
So
We
can-
also
we can-
added immediate
Well,
to
we
the
can
middle school.
certainly look into that, but it could also be that maybe they got another degree, they've gone up on
Yeah.
the steps, they've got, because there's so many different ways that they can go up, it's just not the COLA that they're getting, they're going up in steps. If they get another CAG, so they get a master's, they get compensated for that. So I don't know specifically the ones that you're talking about, but if you would like to get us specific line items, we can certainly look into that and give you a more detailed answer.
Yeah, it's the middle, tracked it through the middle school.
So the middle school's it probably was a change of somebody left at a high rate and someone left at a low rate and we hired someone at a higher rate.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
Comments?
Thanks.
No? We're good? Chris?
Nope,
All
that's
set?
it.
Tom? All
Great
set?
job, Jane.
Jane, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
The next item tonight's gonna be the budget participation from our town administrator, Jim Boudreau. Jim, welcome.
I'm excited to have the superintendent for my presentation. Seems to get a better reception than I do. I'll stand over here so I can actually see my presentation while I'm doing it. Eric, you want to throw it up for me? Thank you. This looks familiar, it should, because it's the same format I used last year. I will be much briefer than the superintendent was, I can guarantee that. The board has reviewed most of the budgets that are in my budget, so I'm not going to go into a lot of great detail. I'll hit the highlights, I'll answer any questions, and then at that point, the board will have 2 weeks, and at your next meeting, you'll actually vote whether or not to send this budget forward or make changes to it.
Okay.
Most important thing, the budget is balanced. The budget is balanced, the operating budget is balanced without using non-recurring revenues. Again, for this fiscal year, there's no free cash in the operating budget, there's no stabilization in the operating budget. When I mean the operating budget, that's net of capital. We'll use free cash in the capital budget. And we are making a second year, a very substantial investment in capital equipment and maintenance. The big picture in the state budget, as you're all aware, the governor has filed his budget, House 2. We're looking at a structural deficit for fiscal 17 of about $750 million. That's the high end. Despite that, Governor Baker has increased local aid slightly for fiscal 17. When we get that a little bit further, ours is about a 2% increase for fiscal 17. That includes a large reduction in our charges. This is what our recurring revenues are: taxes, state aid, local receipts, other funds, overlay surplus, which we're not using, cemetery funds, Legion funds. Those are all much smaller. The other funds make up 0.1% of your revenue stream. The local taxation makes up 81% of our revenue stream. This is our state aid history, as you can see, for fiscal 17. On the governor's budget, it is a 2.21% increase. We are using that in building our budget. Generally, the legislature does not go below the governor's local aid figures. And the times that I've been doing this, the only time I can remember the legislature going below the governor was when Mitt Romney proposed increases in local aid that were based upon huge restructuring of government, and the legislature rejected those restructurings, and local aid actually went down in that year.
Jim, is that gonna increase at all with some of the bills that are outstanding right now? You think is there potential to get additional state aid?
Through the cherry sheet, no. I mean,
No.
the House could do an extra
Yeah.
local aid. I don't see them doing it substantially. There have been talks for years about redoing the Chapter 70, which is the school aid formula. The problem with that is, anytime you redo the formula, somebody loses. Somebody wins and somebody loses. So they can't get any legislative support for any type of restructuring that causes somebody to lose. So if they redo it, they say, all right, we're going to guarantee the towns that lose a minimum, and then the other towns will get additional aid based upon the new formula, and they haven't been able to afford it.
Jim, the governor put out a new formula this year. I know some of the urban districts got hit hard. We held harmless in the Chapter 70?
Yeah, we get a slight increase
Yeah.
in total. Yeah. You can see from the graphic here, though, if that's working, I don't think it is. 2009, we are still below 2009 levels for state aid. That was the high point for state aid, and then you can see significant drops, and it's starting to come back up slowly over time. One of the things that Governor Baker has pledged is over time, when he gets to that point, that state aid will rise at the same level as the state budget. So if the state budget goes up 4%, local aid will go up 4%. We're not at that point yet because of the budget issues. The drawback of that is I can guarantee you if state revenue falls and local aid is going to take a hit just like the rest of the budget. This is our local receipts from 2001 to 2017. The high point was 2015 actual. 2016 obviously is still an estimate, and 2017 is a little bit estimate less than that. We're being very conservative in our local receipt estimates. That's motor vehicle, which is our largest, but this is why I'm conservative in our local receipt estimates. That tracks some of the biggest parts of your local receipt numbers over a 10-year period, 15-year period. You can see how predictable it is. Those numbers are all over the map. License and permits up and down, pilots up and down. Investment income, we're barely bringing any investment income in at all. The one that is consistently trending up is the meals tax. We are holding the meals tax actually flat for fiscal 17 until we get some better numbers at the end of the year. California Pizza Kitchen is already supposed to be open. We have no idea when that was going to open. Last year we were told Gaslight was going to open in June. They opened in January, so we didn't project those numbers. We didn't use those numbers. But this is why I tend to be very conservative in my local receipt numbers. I am still estimating additional local receipts than I estimated in fiscal 16, but I'm not estimating at the same level of the actuals from 15 because, as we saw, the 15 was our high point.
Yep.
And I'm not going to go up that high. I don't think that that's fiscally responsible to estimate those type of revenue numbers.
You sure that chart wasn't drawn by your kids with crayons at home?
Could have been. These
Yeah.
stuff gets all mixed up on me all the time.
Yeah.
And they're constantly emailing me. So if they did it, it's probably more accurate than the one that I did because my 7-year-old son is much better at Excel than I am. Taxation makes up 81% of your revenues. It's based on your FY16 levy limit plus 2.5 plus new growth. Statutory limit set by 2.5 this year is $954,988. Our new growth estimate is $500,000. In fiscal 15, our new growth was $2.5 million. In fiscal 16, we estimated $820,000 for that number. It came in at $1.1 million. So you can see it dropped by more than half. And we are estimating, again, less than half of that this year. That's based on my conversations with our assessing office. We don't have anything large right now that is being constructed that will hit our new growth. We still have phase 3 of Market Street that has not been built. We have no estimate when that is going to be built. That is that last office/retail space that they have left. But that right now has not shown up on the drawing board for us, so we wouldn't include that in the growth estimate at this point.
Would we expect some sort of bump with the Apple Store?
It's got to be small.
Small.
It's not a whole lot of money, so that wouldn't be a big new growth
Or
bump.
is that just replacing existing?
You take some
Tax
away
revenue,
and then you
yeah.
put some back on, yeah. So you get some permits out of it, you're not gonna get a whole lot of growth out of that. This is your tax levy. It's kind of hard to see because I have to fit it on the page. But if you take this page and you go back and look at your state aid page, you'll see when state aid drops, generally a year or two later, the town of Linfield has an override. And this just shows how your base levy builds over time with new growth in 2.5. You can see the big jump it took in fiscal 15 to fiscal 16 when you got that $2.5 million of growth. You can see how the base went up for fiscal 16 and then a small again increase for fiscal 17.
When were you talking about the 2.5 override?
You see it's kind of hard to see, Tom, but there's a blue in 2000. It doesn't even show up. I think it's 2008. There's a little blue. In 2005, there's one. And then I think there's one in 2010. We got a $500,000 one around 2010. Actually, I should be able to tell you. 2012, you had a $560,000 override, and that adds to the base. Those were general overrides, not debt exclusion. Your schools are all debt exclusions. They go on top of your levy. whatever that number is, we raise it on the taxes. So that actually has no impact on our budget and impacts your, obviously your taxes, but it doesn't impact the budget at all. The current balance of free cash is $2,984,000. If you recall, our free cash number was $3.2 million for this year, but that included a turnback of $1.3 million from the previous year. We didn't spend any free cash in the previous year. So we hit about 1.9 if you control for that, which puts you in the 3 to 6% range that is recommended by the Department of Revenue. They recommend that your budget should go 3 to 6% of free cash annually to be considered a conservative and well-managed town. We have not hit that in the past. Last couple of years, we've done much better. It's probably one of the things that is keeping the town of Lynnfield from a AAA bond rating. Those numbers have been down, and your unreserved fund balance has been down. Those are back up. They're in the strong range, and I hope to continue that. We will do some borrowing this year, and I'm hoping those numbers will convince them to give us a AAA bond rating, because all our other indicators say that we should be a AAA community. Stabilization is up to 1.3. Capital facilities is up to 900,000. This budget does recommend adding $200,000 to both of those accounts, to continue adding to those accounts and building them up for our rainy day funds. That's your taxation. Basically, as you see, your 16 starts off. You come up with a total recap of 38,199,521. That goes right to 17. You do the math and come down. Your debt capital, that is a gross number. That is not what actually goes on the tax rate. We net out state aid. We net out reimbursements from the Commonwealth for construction. We net out investment income that comes in from the bond premiums that we're required to use. So that's actually a much lower number. But we raise it on the recap as a gross, and then when we do the tax rate, it comes out as a net. The budget recommendation is $50,405,204, 4.89% increase over fiscal 15. It also includes a recommended increase in capital expenditures of 17% over last year. It's $1,539,000 is our total. That's about $200,000 less, more than we did last year, excuse me. That doesn't include a separate article that we're going to borrow. I'm going to recommend borrowing for a new fire truck at $489,000 and 3 vehicles for the DPW, $35,000 GVW dump truck, probably an F-250 pickup truck, and I'm sure the school kids will be very glad to hear that it includes $140,000 for a new trackless sidewalk tractor. That'll be replacing a 1968 tractor that currently doesn't run and a 1976 tractor that barely runs. If you remember last year, we had a lot of complaints, a lot of issues with getting the sidewalks done in time. We just didn't have the equipment. So $140,000 is for a new piece of equipment. It goes a lot faster than the Bombardiers. It does a much better job than the Bombardiers. And eventually Andrew can buy additional equipment for it to use it for mowing, cleaning, and other things. Right now, we're just going to do the snow plow, the snow blower attachment, and get that out for next winter.
Did we have to
Hopefully we'll need it.
lease or some form of borrowing of a tractor last year to do the sidewalks during the heavy snow?
We had someone come in and demo one. We kept it for a little while.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah.
It wasn't actually ours, but we had a real long demonstration.
A 2-month demo? Yeah,
But
that's not bad,
these are really nice pieces of equipment, and obviously replacing stuff that's 40 years old. These are your operational budgets. The one that's going to jump out at you right at the top is your general government with an increase of 20.6%. That is almost all in one account under the Selectmen's budget, which is our reserve for salary increases. As you're aware, none of our contracts are settled for fiscal 17, so there is a line in the Selectmen's budget that has money set aside to cover what I anticipate will be the cost of those raises. We do have an executive session on tonight that I was going to update you on those contract negotiations, but I think we're going to wait till next time to do that. I don't see we're going to settle those contracts in the next 2 weeks. Public safety, 6.89. Most of that increase is the plan that Chief Tetrell has put forward to go from our current fire department staffing to a new model of 3 12-hour shifts, 3 on, 3 off, which will give us 12-hour coverage over our, is it 8, Chief, or 8.5? 8.5 hour coverage that we have only during the week now. This will be 12-hour coverage 7 days a week. It includes 2 additional permanent firefighters and 2 call firefighters each day, one in each station. So that's really the big increase in the public safety. Public Works showing a dip. That is really all attributable to the fact that we took the $500,000 in paving that was in his operating budget We have moved that to the capital budget for reasons that this board has discussed several times. Education, 4.75. The school department is 4.5. That includes the technical school and their health insurance, and their health insurance we are projecting up at 8%. Employee benefits is up 11.01%. That's an 8% increase right now that I'm factoring in for health insurance. I think it's going to be a little less than that. It's going to be closer to the 7% range. But there's also $200,000 in what we categorize as employee benefits within the operating budget that we will be putting into our OPEB account. That's something that the board talked to me about when I was hired. And this year, last year I said I wasn't going to do it last year. We've done it this year. I have a $200,000 appropriation within the budget for OPEB, and hopefully we can keep adding to that. It's still a drop in the bucket. You'll see under our budget there's an increase in our professional services. Part of that increase in our professional services is we're required every 2 years to redo our OPEB evaluation. That's going to be done next year, so we'll be doing that. It's about $10,000. Public Works, again, the paving funds moved to capital. The only increase that he had asked for that was above normal was for the position of an electrician within this budget. I have not recommended that at this point. I did convey that to Andrew. Andrew had hoped to be here tonight, but he is out fulfilling his National Guard duty tonight. He's on call, so he wasn't able to be here, but he's aware of that. I had discussions with some of the board members about that. At this point, I didn't have the empirical data I felt necessary to show that hiring an electrician was going to save or offset costs that we had for outside. The fire budget, as I said, additional coverage proposed by the chief going from the 5 days a week coverage to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. 2 additional full-time firefighters and 2 12-hour per day call firefighter position, one at each station. And the school department, I funded their request pending this meeting tonight. The board hasn't had a chance to hear it, but I funded their request. Hearing Mrs. Campbell talk about music, obviously I can't cut the music teacher. That's got to be in there. The SPED staff is a requirement. You can't get around that. And the full-day kindergarten, I was skeptical of that, but when the superintendent tells me that she can't guarantee that the children that are not going to full-day kindergarten are not receiving the same education as the children going to the full-day kindergarten, I agree that it's something that has to be addressed. We can't have a disparate education system in Linfield at this point. So I've included that in my budget recommendation. Again, balanced, significant capital, 1.5 up from 1.3. That does not include the almost 900,000 in additional borrowing that I want to do. Just to touch quickly on the chief's fire truck, that's replacing. We have 2 pumper trucks right now that are 30 years old. If we don't replace one soon, we'll be replacing both of them at the same time. This will be a debt issuance. Right now we're looking at 10 years. I'm going to spend a little more time with the debt budget. Maybe we'll do that into 5 years so we can roll that into the other truck in 5 years. But right now we have it out at 10 years, and that'll replace some debt that's coming off in 17 and 18. So we're trying to time that to meet those. Same thing with Andrews. Normally I would have cashed those out, but he's got a lot of vehicles that he's going to need to replace, and if we can get him on a rotating issuing of debt as each comes off, we'll be able to get a rotating schedule for that. Other significant capitals, $75,000 for the radio repeaters on the south, Dave, south water tower that have to be moved when we redo those. They also funded the police department's request for their cruisers, the 3 cruisers that they had requested.
Great. As far as the debt schedule goes, there isn't any significant amount of debt coming off until 15, 16.
Not significant, no.
I mean, to 2025, 26.
No, I'm proposing in town meeting to pay off the remainder of the debt, the short-term debt that we had issued. We paid off $840,000 of that on the recap in fiscal 16. We have $150,000 of that left, 75 this year, 75 next year. I'm going to propose just paying that off at the special town meeting in the spring. The question really going forward with the debt, the outline question is Center Farm. What are we going to do with Center Farm? Are we going to sell it? Are we going to keep it? That's obviously a big difference. If we sell it, the minimum bid is in the $800,000 range, which means we'd issue debt for the balance of $500 and change. If we keep it and we go the route of what the Historic Commission is looking for, we paid $1.4 million for it. They want us to do, from what I understand from their proposal, they want us to do the plumbing, the electricity, some of the other work. That's about $300,000, so that's $1,700,000. And before we could turn it over to them, because we're a public entity, we would have to de-let it. We have to de-let it to different standards than if it was a private home. I don't have an estimate on that. People I've talked to, it is definitely in the six-figure range, $300,000 to $400,000. Again, because if you're a homeowner, you can go in and paint over lead paint. That's up to you. If you're a public entity the way we are, around all the doors, any multiple item below 5 feet has to be stripped. It cannot be encapsulated, it has to be stripped as a public entity. So that's all the doors, all the window frames, any chair rails, any interior woodwork. So even at $300,000, that puts us up around $2 million. So whether we're gonna issue debt for $500,000 or $2 million is gonna be the $1.5 million question that we'll face in the spring when we decide what we're gonna do with that building.
Great. Jim, can you just get back to the fire department? As our chief and a couple of the firefighters are here, and I'm sure they'd love to hear us talk about it. Can you tell us what you have recommended for that and what we have for alternatives that we've discussed, or you have discussed with the chief?
Well, actually, the reason you were so late getting your budget is because I actually didn't make a final decision on what I was gonna recommend on the fire department until after I had a meeting this morning with, I talked to both Phil and Tom, and I met with Chris today and the chief. You know, obviously, what he is proposing, I think, deals with the situation that we are facing now, where we are getting to a point where we are at a crisis. The groups, the men, are getting called out far too often, and the response times are going up. And I think what the chief has proposed deals with that in the here and now. My concerns that I've expressed to him are what's gonna happen going forward. How is this gonna impact the call department? You know, I met with Glenn Davis this morning. Obviously, none of us have a crystal ball, but Glenn was as confident as he could be that this will be good for the call department. Obviously, if we lose the call department, it's gone. It's not coming back. That is not a Linfield thing. You know, the call department, 25 years ago, I want to be on the call department. They gave you a coat, they gave you a hat. Said, you know, show up when we call you. The requirements for call firefighters now have gone way up in terms of training, commitment, things like that. So it's harder to keep those guys because of all what they have to put into it. Also, the demographics of Linfield have changed. It's not a lot of blue-collar guys anymore working in town. It's people working in Boston. They come home late. They don't want to go out. They're busy on the weekends. So, you know, I've expressed some of my concerns to the chief about what impact this is going to have on the call department and whether or not we're going to have to plan, is this an interim step to go to a full-time department? And if that's the case, we should start planning for that now as opposed to 4 years from now saying, now we need to add 4 firefighters, now we need to add 6 firefighters. Plan for it over time, add two, and the budget can absorb that much easier and we can plan for it. So those are some of my big concerns where is this gonna be a long-term solution or not? Unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball. You know, the chief has spoken, I've talked to the union, I've talked to again, Glenn Davis, who's the head of the call department. And this will deal with our short-term issue right now, what's going on, provide us some relief, provide the guys some relief, and I think increase the quality of service that the residents are getting. The other question that was posed in the 2009 study that the town paid for was relative to the ambulance. At one point, the town of Linfield had a private ambulance. That didn't work out very well. We brought it back in-house. The report from 2009 suggested that should be looked at again. I don't think necessarily that's the right way to go, but I don't have the data to say yes or no. And I'd like some of that data just to, because that's how I operate. I like to have the data in my back pocket in case anybody asks me. My gut reaction is that would not be better service-wise. It might be better budget-wise, but I don't think it'd be better service-wise. But I would like to have some more of that data, just so if I could ask the town meeting, I can say, no, we looked at that, here's the data, and the model that we're using is a better model.
So in that light, what would be a recommendation for the data that you were looking for?
In terms of that last one, I would just like to look at how that response model would be, what the cost would be. The problem is, if you do outsource the ambulance, you give up your revenue, which is between $600,000 and $700,000 a year, but you don't give up the costs that are associated with that revenue. So when we have numerous EMS calls, and we call people back to the station to cover, we pay them out of the EMS budget. We won't have that EMS budget anymore, but we're still gonna call those people back, because when an ambulance calls comes in every community that I've ever served in, ever known, ever been in, even in a private ambulance, when the call comes in for the ambulance, you still send the fire department out. So we would still be sending personnel, but we wouldn't be getting the revenue for that personnel that's going out, that'd be going out of the ambulance company. So I think in the end, it'd be a net loss to us. $600,000-$700,000 in revenue, probably, what do you say, Chief, another $250 in costs for callbacks for that, roughly?
Probably higher than that.
Yeah.
Probably about 300.
So $200,000 to $300,000 range for callback costs, so you're looking,
So we'd be making the same investment we're looking at here,
Yeah.
but not having the revenues available to the call and career guys.
right, and the issue that would have is right now, we hire paramedics. So when we send our fire department out, people are getting paramedic level service. If you're not running the ambulance, and this is based on my belief, some of the firemen are here, but if you're not running paramedic service, if you're not running the ambulance, you lose those paramedics. They will go someplace else.
Right.
Where they can use those skills, so that the quality of service that we are providing to the people by the personnel that we're sending out will be less than what we're providing at this time. I don't think that would be acceptable to the taxpayers, and I think it's a risk that, at this point, I don't think we need to take.
Well, we had discussed in prior meetings and a couple meetings with the chief that we might look at another study to look at what it looks like at this point in time. It's changed significantly in the last 7 years. And I know we talked about possibly doing another study between now and October town meeting.
Yeah, and really, that was kind of the thrust of the meeting this morning.
Yeah.
What would happen if we waited, some of the pitfalls if we waited. And, one of the issues that government, and I thought about this actually today, Phil, after we talked, one of the issues government has with studies, we're famous for doing studies. We're also famous for taking those studies and throwing them on a shelf and, letting them collect dust. I think the chief was able to impart to me the urgency of moving forward with this at this point. I know I talked to some of the other board members who also supported going forward with this at this time. And speaking to Glenn Davis, he was able to put me a little bit more at ease with what I think the impacts could be on the call department. Even if I had recommended waiting, I would have reserved the revenue for this. I wouldn't have let it been absorbed into other budgets, so we could have done it. But again, I waited until today to make my decision on how to do this budget, and based upon the meeting this morning, it's my recommendation that we go forward at this point.
I appreciate that. I think what we all appreciate in this town is that we have a combination department that serves the town better than any other combination of departments that we've ever seen. The full career department does work well. It would probably cost twice as much as what we're currently spending to have a full career department. The last thing I would want to see is have the combination department get decimated because we changed things in a manner that was heading that direction. I'm still not convinced that what we're doing isn't going that direction, but it's something where I would like to have an impartial third party come in and take another look at it, but it's being well supported by the chief and the staff. I haven't gotten the same feedback outside the fire department. So it's something I'd still like to recommend that we go to an independent third-party study to take a look at the current model before we spend that kind of money, because once we put that kind of money into this fire department is operating, we're never going to get it back. And I can't, looking at what we have going into that department at this point, I can't believe it's not going to be much higher than what he's asking for at this point. I'm worried that this is going to come back in either October or next town meeting and balloon to a much higher number a lot quicker than we were hoping it would. So I think it's prudent for the town to take another look at this before we make this type of investment. It's a long-term investment, it's not a one-time, one-year investment. And the other piece of it that I'm very concerned with is this is also a year for the collective bargaining agreements. And I know the unions have to buy into this also. And if we're going to start looking at a model change like this, that's going to significantly impact not only what we're spending on career, but the lives and the scheduling of our call staff. We're asking them to staff full-time days now, which is kind of counterintuitive on call people. They're usually the backup. Now we're asking them to staff full days, 7 days a week, and I'm not sure that that's sustainable. So I would like to take a look at that. Once we know the unions are on board with this and they will support the system that we're asking for, that's asking the call staff to take on a big piece of this, but they're not union. So it's a big concession from the union also that I'd like to make sure is in place before we put this in place. Because to ask them to do it afterwards is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, obviously I can't disclose union negotiations. The union is here. I can tell you, I hope without them getting too mad at me, that flexibility on their part has not been an issue in the negotiations. Would that be characterized correctly?
Yeah, Andrew Lyons.
Hi,
I
Andrew.
personally stood up in front of you folks, I think twice, in the FinCom, I believe 3 times in the last 2 years. And we've given our unwavering support towards our chief, who was, if you guys recall, because you hired him, the impartial third party from out of town.
Right.
We've had a history in Linfield of doing third-party studies. There was a study done in the late 1940s that said that we needed a full-time fire department and a ladder truck. Sorry. The late 1940s, they said we needed a full-time fire department and a ladder truck. We didn't do it then. The late 1950s, we needed a full-time fire department and a ladder truck. We didn't do it then. It wasn't until 1971 did they hire full-time firefighters. In 1980, I believe, 82, did they buy a second-hand ladder truck from Long Island that was already past its point of usefulness. We did another study in 2009 that, again, as Mr. Boudreau said, sat on a shelf and we haven't done anything. We have the expert from out of town who's done nothing his whole working career but study fire departments. And he's telling us that this is the prudent thing to do. Could it kill the call department? It certainly could, but I don't think that it's going to be as quick as doing nothing. If we do nothing, we're on a collision course for disaster. And quite frankly, we're putting the onus on you folks now. We're letting you know that there's a problem. We're letting you know that we need help. And if there is a problem, we're outstretched. We just can't do it. Firefighters inherently don't ask for help, and we're asking you for help. That's all I have.
I appreciate that, Andrew, and we're certainly willing to provide the help in the best model that we can provide. I just don't want to be looking at this 2 years from now and the chief saying, you know what, we can't staff those other positions. I need full-time guys around the clock, and that would be a shame, because that would totally decimate our on-call, which you just admitted that it might be heading that direction. If that's what it is, then the town, the taxpayers in this town are going to be paying about twice as much for our fire and EMS system that we're paying now. So that's what I'm trying to avoid if we can. So, let's keep an eye on that. I'd like to know.
To do nothing is going to cost significantly.
I agree. I'm not saying we do nothing. I'm just saying we make sure this is the right fix for the fire department. It's a great time to do it. I believe we do need to do something, but I'm not sure that we have to take this step at this point without making sure that this is the right step. And if I know that the unions are going to be on board and allow our on-call guys to staff a significant amount of those positions, it would take a lot of the onus off the town and the taxpayers.
Again, unfortunately, I can't discuss
All right, I
what's going on in collective bargaining.
They do that now, the call members. They work every day now.
Oh, I understand, but they're asking to do more on a daily basis and staff full-time positions.
They're staffing full-time positions now. I don't think that's gonna be.
Okay, Kevin, I appreciate that, Kevin, thank you.
I think, and I certainly understand the concerns and the questions Phil has. I mean, my thought on this, I'm reminded of John F. Kennedy, if not now, when? I think there's been a number of studies. I think we've hired the chief, certainly outside of Linfield. He's looked at it. I know he came a year ago, and there was questions on the plan, and there was pause. He's come back with the plan now. I think it's a plan that he told me today. The union representatives have told us that there will be that flexibility, that if we need that wiggle room, or if we need to change it, we'll have that opportunity to do it. I think the thing with the call firefighters, I do appreciate the fact that there's challenges. It's not just a challenge in Linfield, as Jim said. It's something that we're trying to manage and contain and maintain the call fire department here in Linfield. I just think we should act now, so that 6 months down the road in October, or a year down the road, we can look at it and revisit it and make the tweaks we need to make. And Chief, you've given me that assurance that we can make those tweaks and change, and I think the union said they'd be on board with, I know it's difficult to talk about the collective bargaining and the agreement right now, but to have that flexibility within the contract. So I think it's certainly a whole lot of, I think it's a plan worth looking at. I know I spoke with Bob McKendrick, who's a selectman and served in the fire department, and he has confidence in his plan to move forward with it. So I have that confidence moving forward with it right now. So thank you for your work, Chief, on it.
Well, I'm in support of this. The one thing that I've always said is that when someone dials 911, they want the red lights, the blue lights there as quickly as possible. And I think, Chief, from what you showed us on that bell curve with the number of calls and the increased amount of time it's taking for the EMS staff to get to a site, that it's alarming, especially when you couple that fact in with the potential loss of Lynn Union Hospital. That emergency room is critical. And if we should lose that, now, not only is it, if we stay the way we are, we have an increased time to get to a patient. Then we have an increased time to move them to a facility. That just spells disaster. I think this is if at a minimum, it's a fabulous first step. I think you come in with a huge amount of credentials. I think you've analyzed the situation quite well. We've talked about this for probably over a year now, several different times. And during each time, one critical issue that came to my mind was the fact that you said that your department was willing to work together to accomplish a positive goal of better servicing the town of Linfield. And what I took from that was there might be some a system in which people would be willing to enter the union negotiation contract process with a very open mind, and I hope that's the situation. And with that thought in mind, we can accomplish a goal of maintaining a good budget, increasing the staffing that's needed, and better servicing the people of this town. And I think that the plan you've come up with is comprehensive and is an enormous first step. I was concerned during the last Selectmen meeting, we talked about it, was, are we going far enough? There was still that gap in time. And I think that gap in time is good to have a little flex period so that you could have the call firefighters engage or not engage, so that there's the flexibility of full-time or call covering that whole timeline, which was 14 hours or so to encompass that whole bell curve that we were looking at quite extensively. So to me, that bell curve just speaks miles, that we have a sweet spot of time during the day in which we have a lot of need for services, and we need to do our best to cover that as much as possible. Because one day it could be one of us dialing 911, and we're going to hope that the men and women get to us as quickly as possible. So I'm behind you 1,000% on this, Chief.
Thank you. Jim, do you want to go over capital?
If you like.
Yeah. Do you have any particular items you want to highlight on that, or I know it's a pretty big It's a pretty good list.
Total capital request was over $3.3 million. If you count what we're gonna bond, we're doing over 2.3 million of that. We have a large pent-up demand for capital. We had a lot of stuff on there this year that I thought were priorities. I do sit down with the various department heads, tell them to prioritize their capital. Obviously, they can't have it all. What you see in front of you for police, fire, public works represents their priorities. I went over their fundings with them. There's a couple, can you move this, can we do this instead? We took care of that. I think probably my first priority was the number one capital request on the board, and that was new voting machines for the town clerk. I mean, that's about as basic as we get in a democracy, is voting, so that was the top thing on my list. The library came in late with a lot of requests for a lot of things that the DPW hadn't even seen. I talked to Andrew about that. A lot of the stuff on that list has either been done, or they didn't know anything about, and they'll take a look at. They had asked for $3,000 to fix the electrical panel in the lobby. The DPW suggested that should be $7,000 to fix 3 electrical panels in the library. So I recommended that higher amount for that. In terms of some of the big DPW things, culvert design and engineering for Fletcher Road and Midland Road, and the Ledge Road drainage project, that's for some additional engineering up on Ledge Road. The board had some conversation on a Longbow drainage project. That was $140,000. That's a stopgap measure that would really improve one home. But the pipes and stuff were undersized. The total cost of that, Andrew estimated, would be in the millions. I didn't think that was a wise use of our funds. I think the Ledge Road drainage is a lot more impactful, and it's something we're gonna be able to do, so I went with that one. Large format scanner printer, black and white, in the DPW. That'll be used by the DPW, planning, conservation, all the town departments. That'll give us a large scanner that we can start scanning a lot of these maps and plans and other assorted, for lack of a better term, crap that is lying around the building. We can put it in a digital form, makes it searchable, makes it findable, makes it actually usable. We thought that was very important. Fuel tank compliance. The fuel tanks out back are out of compliance. They need to be fixed. Also, compressors at both fire stations can no longer be certified. Those need to be replaced. 2 big things that Andrew really had asked for that I funded. You see them actually twice under town hall and under schools. An energy management system and a facility maintenance program. Our work orders are all done by hand. They're all tracked by hand. There is no way for a department head, if they put in a work order, to find out where it is, whether it's been acted on, whether it's been done. So this is, for those of you familiar with it, a school due type program, where those would be done electronically, tracked electronically, and kept electronically by Andrew. That would also help out FinCom, who's been spending a lot of time asking, well, how much time does someone spend on the field? How much time do they spend on the building? And we really have to track that by hand, so that will give us another opportunity to do that. Something else you'll see on there that I think some people will be shocked for, $15,500 for an electronic time system in the DPW. Believe it or not, the DPW keeps all their time by hand. We had some issues with that, the way people coded their overtime during the blizzards last year. When we had people at a shelter, they coded it as school coverage. School coverage is not reimbursable by FEMA, but shelter coverage is, but they coded it incorrectly when they wrote it by hand on their timesheets. I think it's time we moved at least into the 1900s, if not to the 2000s, and go to some sort of electronic timesheet for the DPW. Look, some other small things, of course, the protective equipment for the fire department, the truck, radio upgrades for both the police and fire departments, the cruisers that Chief Breen has come to you before, and for the, really for the board of the town, $2,500 for the citizens transparency, $7,000 to upgrade our website, which is really not very user-friendly, and $10,800 to replace computers in the town hall, some for the fire and some for the police. As I joked earlier, some of the machines we're wanting are like Windows 72. They're so old, and they need to be replaced. Those are really the highlights, and also, of course, the $250,000 for the school department for their technology, and the planning board, $40,000 to update the zoning bylaws and the master plan. Those are probably the big highlights.
So we're looking to bond 849,000 for
Correct.
the equipment,
Mhm.
and 1,500,000 out of cash.
Yeah, part of it will come out of available funds from the taxation. About 1.1 million will come from free cash.
Great,
And
thank you.
that will leave us sufficient free cash to cover any end of the year bills. And if the board wants to propose funding the playground that was in today, that probably would also come out of free cash.
One item here that I know the resident has contacted me many times, the Longbow Circle item. Has there been any headway with trying to at least mitigate that problem?
Yeah, I spoke to Andrew about that at length. Since he's been here, he's not aware of any problems with the flooding at that one particular house. Anytime we have heavy rains, the crews go out and make sure that all the catch basins are clear. The problem is the catch basins and the roads are not quite aligned correctly, and there's insufficient capacity when it gets down the bottom. If you're familiar where it is, pretty much there's about 4 or 5 roads that all dump right down that street. The catch basins on the adjoining roads are too far away from the curb. There's not enough curb reveal, so the water goes by them. The solution, which was a stopgap, was basically to dig giant holes in the ground, put huge retention pits that would increase the capacity to hold the water. That's great as long as you maintain it, but in the end, the pipes that go through that entire program, development are undersized, and they would all need to be replaced. So 140,000 would be a stopgap measure to help one resident that, from the records that we have, because they're doing such an aggressive job going out there when it storms, hasn't had a problem in a couple of years.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions?
The Citizens Transparency?
Yeah.
Was that the first company that was in like
Second.
is-
That was
The
the
second
Munis.
one, so that's part of Munis.
Yeah, it's 5 years.
In the road construction, we're gonna capitalize that, we're not gonna keep that part of the regular budget?
$500,000, we've gone over why I think that's a good idea in terms of budgeting, spending, and being able to save that. I think it belongs outside his budget to give him the flexibility to use it in a little bit more responsible manner than having to hurry up and spend it within his budget or lose it at the end of the fiscal year. So it's more appropriate as a capital item in my
Have we
opinion.
ever lost it?
We'd have to go back and look, Tom. I'm sure there are instances where it's not all been spent because of problems with the contract and not being able to get out. I mean, you know how it works, they schedule stuff all summer, you get 2 rainy days and every project's pushed back 2 weeks. It just plays havoc on the schedule.
And if I read it correctly, didn't Andrew have a small amount of money left from the budget last year that wasn't committed? That he was putting towards this year?
He has some Chapter 90 money.
Yeah.
He hasn't spent all his other budget money.
Right.
He has some money left this year also. We have to go and do finish the catch basins and the top coats on the roads that they did last fall.
Right.
But
But there
he'll
were some
spend all
funds
the
that were not committed yet on the contracts?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but those are all, they're all spoken for, and once we get the contractors back, that work will get finished.
Well, this year was used as a guide to see how much work could actually get done in a year, and if he could expend the amount of money we gave him. And that's why it was, at that number.
Yeah, he's
We
gonna
didn't
spend
want to
it.
go higher than that, because he said, even at town meeting, he said, I don't know if I can spend all that.
Unless he has a really large project,
Yeah.
pick Walnut Street, for example, that's probably $1 million just to grind it and overlay it.
Yeah.
Not even to completely rebuild it. But it's hard to spend all that money in a construction season.
Right. Well, looking at his timetable and schedule for next year, it looks like he's looking at doing another 9 to 10 streets.
Yeah.
Within the town, so I think that's a good schedule. If we can keep at that level, we can get a lot of work done in the next few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
What about keypads for more efficient voting at town meeting?
That'd be up to the town clerk. She hasn't requested that. One of the issues that I've heard of that, some towns that do it, is you either have to buy them or rent them, and you don't know how many to buy or rent. So for Linfield, an average town meeting would be 300-400 people. So you buy 600 keypads, and then you do an override or something, and 800 people show up, and you can't use them because you don't have enough for everybody.
It certainly would be
So-
better than what we're doing now. It takes so long to get.
Yeah, I agree. It's something we're gonna have to look at with Trudy. They are expensive. There's a couple towns, one near me that went to them last year. Their town meeting's in about 2-3 weeks, so I'm gonna see how their town meeting goes the second time around.
Is that something we could share the cost with another town, like the way we share inspectors?
Yeah, as long as you don't have town meeting on the same night, and then what do you do? You know,
How do you know how many to buy?
that was my point, you don't know how many to
Yeah,
get.
how do you, if you're gonna have a meeting where there's gonna be 175 and the next one might be,
You know, Market
500
Street
or
was,
600,
what was
yeah.
the town meeting turnout for Market Street was
Yeah.
over 1,000?
2,400.
Yeah, so we wouldn't have had enough for that under any circumstances. You'd
Huh?
probably buy 400 or 500,
Yeah,
and
2,400.
then when you had a real big town meeting, you wouldn't have enough.
Yeah.
Well, you can lease them.
We consider rent.
Yeah, renting, yeah.
But you have the same issue, Mrs. Campbell, how many do you rent? You have to give them a number, and
Well, I think it would be better to have some for some meetings than for none at all.
yeah, and again, Duxbury just went to them last year, their town meeting's this month, so we're gonna see how, this will be their second year with them. And I'm gonna see how they like them. I'm not aware, I haven't followed the North Shore enough to know whether anybody up here is doing them yet.
You had mentioned Duxbury.
Duxbury's the one whose town meeting's coming up, yeah, their town meeting's in March. Yeah.
Excuse me.
But that's probably something we'd look at for next year if we were gonna do it.
All right, Jim, any more questions, audience? Great, thank you. Next item, we're gonna go and review the warrant articles. Jim, did you wanna go through that for us?
Not really.
Pretty please?
Is, right now we have 33, Bob? I think it's about 33 articles, depending on, there's a couple that are fabulous. It's a lot. A lot of them are stock items, you want at the beginning are all stock items, obviously. Previous bills, there's 4 or 5 revolving funds that we have to reauthorize every year. The EMS accounts, the Reedy Meadow, the golf course accounts. There's 2, the library will have 2 or 3, we're not sure at this point how many the library's gonna have, I think this reflects 3. They are still trying to make a determination as to what they will put forward at this point. At some point, the town actually has to vote to transfer, transfer the control of that land from the selectmen for the use of a library. That takes a 2/3 vote. The library trustees are talking about whether they want to do that now or whether they want to do it in the future, and that's entirely really up to them.
Which warrant article are you up to?
19, 20, and 21 of the, 19 and 20 are the library ones.
The possible clear library one that's stuck at the end.
21 is the sale or lease of the real property known as Center Farm. It gives the board the option. Both subject to 30B. So if you sell it, it has to go by a public bid process. If you lease it, it's required to go through a public bid process. Notwithstanding.
So can this be reworded to lease to a Linfield nonprofit organization?
I don't think you can limit it to a Linfield nonprofit organization.
think you can.
I think that would be a violation of the statute.
Okay.
You can limit it to a nonprofit organization. You could limit it to a nonprofit historic type organization.
Could we do that?
You are, the more restrictive you get on the bid, the more you are opening yourself up to challenge by someone that it's not a real bid. But yeah, you could write something like that. I think we need to flesh out what those costs are gonna be, 'cause I think that'd be significant if we went down that road.
We've already, what did we, when we bought it, we had appropriated, what, 300,000 at that point?
There's 150.
150,000, yeah, we haven't expended, I don't think any of that at this point. And we talked about it last year, I have no intention of doing work on that building if we're gonna get rid of it.
We haven't even raised that money yet, have we?
We haven't borrowed it yet, no,
Yeah.
no.
Well, if we go this route, we would have to spend money.
If you go, well, no, this is to sell or lease, so if you sell it, we just get rid of it. If we sell it, the minimum bid, I think, was $850 or $820. And depending on what your bid was, what you lose on the $1.4 million sale price is the cost of your historic preservation restrictions. You
Oh, I
can't
see,
subdivide the
okay.
property, you can't do this, you can't do that. And again, I haven't talked to the Historic Society, but when I look at what they're planning,
That's what would run up to about 2 million.
at least, and we do 20-year notes, they're talking a 40-year buyback, so we would have the carrying cost of all that debt for 20 years, and then after that, we would make a profit, but it would require, what I've seen of their proposal, and again, I don't want to speak to it too much, would require a significant upfront expenditure by the town to bring that building up to some sort of code or standard of habitability, and then we would turn it over to them. And again, just the electrical and the plumbing is $200,000-300,000.
Is there any way around that? Can they do any fundraising or obtain any grants to do the refurbishment that's required?
Yeah, I mean, they could do fundraising. There are grants available through the Secretary of State's office. They are unbelievably competitive. We do not have a disadvantage because we're considered a wealthy community. That it's not one of those type of grants. But I was involved in one of those in Norwell. They are unbelievably competitive. The strings attached to them are enormous. You would have to hire someone to actually write the grant, someone who's a historic architect type of person to write the grant, design the work. So it's expensive just to get the money from the state. And, you know, we actually had a conversation. Are we spending more money getting the grant than we're actually going to get back from the state? But we got about $80,000 to redo some roofs on historic buildings. We took off asphalt roofs and replaced them with shingle roofs. It came out very nice, but it was a ton of work. And again, hugely competitive because there's a very small amount of money and there's historic properties all across the state and they're all looking to get a piece of that pie. But that is possible, yeah. Planning board has 3 or 4. Yeah, I wasn't touching all of them trying to let the board read them. I was kind of going through the highlights. Or did I not put that in there?
I did not keep that separate from the capital item.
Yeah, then I have to add the article for the borrowing, for the equipment, and then of course, down near the very end is an article for the funding for the King Rail Golf Course, for the country club, sorry, the clubhouse, not a country club, it'll be a small little clubhouse. We've selected an architect, and we actually selected a Wakefield firm. We're expecting to meet with them this week and get them started, but they will have a decent cost estimates for us to go forward at town meeting. Those funds will come out of the sale of real estate, so we have those funds available.
Jim, do we know on the planning board, Article 25, whether or not the PVDD 9.5 changes have been submitted to the state for approval?
I do not, to the best of my knowledge, they have not been. Mr. Dalton is here, he's shaking his head, so he's, the planning board, I don't think so.
No.
And it's my understanding any PVD changes, PVVD changes need to be approved in advance by the state.
Okay,
So I think there could be an issue with those.
all right.
Do we ever get clarification as to the point, well, maybe because you're here, you could explain it. The planning board wanted a few articles to be included in the warrants. And the day that it was presented that we had to vote to usher it along, we ushered it along and I had no idea what the heck I was voting on. But in the name of trying to move it along so that we could get an understanding, now that you're here, maybe you could explain what we voted for.
Actually, all you were voting for was just to move it back to the planning board. I mean, you weren't approving or condoning any of those, those contemplated actions by the planning board. The planning board has a couple.
Hey, Dick, excuse me, Dick, we want to come up to the podium? I know we got a couple thousand people watching, so I want to.
Especially this time of night.
Their eyes closed at this point.
There were dozens at 8 o'clock, but now there's thousands.
So there has not been at this point a meeting scheduled for the planning board to take up that issue. And quite frankly, I mean, to cut to the chase, I'm not sure, just as an individual member, if that'll actually end up being on the warrant.
Okay.
I mean, that's, where we're at now. I mean, there's been a lot of back and forth amongst the planning board members as to some of the confusion you refer to and trying to read through and make sense of exactly what the impact is. So quite honestly, I'm a little bit uncomfortable at this point. And we'll see when the meeting is scheduled and how the other members feel. So it's a work in progress, Tom.
Okay,
Is that fair?
thank you.
So it's possible this will be indefinitely postponed?
In my mind, I think it's a real
Yeah,
possibility.
okay. Thank you, Dick.
I had a few quick questions. Surprise, surprise, right? Article number 8, what is it, what are we buying? What equipment?
That's the capital,
That's the
that's the
capital
fire
budget.
truck.
The
Oh,
capital
no,
budget.
that's the regular capital, right?
Yes, 7's operating, 8's capital.
That's
So
the
this
regular
is all the
capital
capital,
budget,
okay.
right.
Yeah, this is,
All right,
Yeah, but we're gonna break those out, because of 2/3 vote. I gotta talk down for about time.
okay, and you said the OPEB, you're gonna increase to 200,000.
I have a $200,000 line item in the budget for OPEB. That's separate from this. If the board wanted to put additional money in the OPEB this way, they can, but I have a line item in the budget. I'm gonna start funding an annual appropriation to OPEB.
What are other towns doing right now with the OPEB? I know that a lot of the surrounding towns have substantially contributed to OPEB.
I know Wakefield meets their arc. When they did changes to health insurance, they took the savings and they put it right into their arc. So they're meeting their required contribution. Most towns that I'm aware of are doing something, putting in 100 here, 200 here, and then try to increase that over time. Also looking at the other side of the equation, which is the health insurance itself, and making plan changes that reduce your OPEB liability. Going to the GIC actually reduced your OPEB liability significantly. But most towns are trying to start funding it on some level, then increasing it over time to show the bonding agencies, we're not ignoring this, we're making strides, and we're taking it seriously.
Well, Wakefield has millions, don't they, in their OPEB?
Yeah, they when they made big changes to the health insurance, they realized savings of over $1 million.
And they put that.
And they just took that and they put it right in their OPEB. Yeah, they didn't put it back into other operating budgets. They put it right into their OPEB, and that's how they were able to do it.
Do you think we should be increasing that 200 to maybe 400 or 500?
I think it'd be difficult to do it all in one chunk. I think we need to do it, maybe next year is 300, and then after that it's 350.
Keep
Then it's
increasing?
Yep.
be progressive.
Yeah, and the other way to do it, Tom, is you put 200 in the budget, and then at town meeting you say, all right, we still got some free cash left. I'm going to throw 150 in free cash in there, so I get it both ways, but it's not sucking up all my operating budget.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just important to do it. You hate to see, one bad turn in the economy and,
Yeah, Wellesley did an override, actually. They did a $1 million override to fund their OPEB liability. And they just, it was a general override, and they put it into OPEB.
just once or every year?
Wasn't that about a $40 million override? I thought they funded the whole thing.
No, because they're also fully funded on their pensions.
Okay.
One of the few places that are funded on their pensions. So they're able to take the money from their unfunded pension liability, put that in their OPEB, and then they needed about another $1 million a year on top of that to fully meet their
Oh,
requirements.
per year?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. 'Cause I know they do an annual override for everything.
Well, Wellesley does
Yeah.
overrides like every
Yes,
has.
exactly.
Article number 20, is there a plan that should be attached?
The library will have that, yeah.
Okay.
That's just the language we got, Tom. We don't have all the stuff behind it,
Okay.
but they'll have that. Yeah, it's,
It's about, oh, in the last language, it's Article 26. This could be coming back to you, Dick. A road had to be 24 feet wide to be a street. Is this?
I'm just trying to find 26, Tom, hold on.
Oh, from 25 to 27.
If
Where'd
you look-
26 go? Oh, 26 here is definitions.
If you look in the definitions, it's alphabetical if you go to street.
Yep.
And it says, a way which is over 24 feet in right-of-way width, which is dedicated or devoted to public use by legal mapping, blah, 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 is a street. So what happens if we have a street that's 18 feet wide?
Yeah, I think this is dealing with,
What happens to that?
I'm just trying to find a definition, but I'm
Is that
guessing.
Is that future streets?
This deals with public ways.
That would be future.
I'm sorry?
And
Okay. So it'd have to be,
So if we had a plan before us, in order for us to approve it without a waiver, it would have to be the 20.
okay, so to make it a public street, it has to be at least that width. So if someone puts in something a little wider than a driveway to connect to another house, that could never be turned over. Gotcha.
Dick, do you know if that's the current wording that we have in the, today?
Because honestly, I haven't.
Because I went over some of these and it was exact wording we already have. So I'm assuming that, I know a 24-foot right-of-way is exactly usually what we have now. So it might be the same. Okay.
Figure the,
Any other questions
That's it for me.
on warrants?
ladder truck on the outriggers is huge.
Next item is the Kinder Morgan update. Kinder Morgan, as we announced before, is having a meeting at the Linfield Middle School auditorium with the DPU on Wednesday, April 6th at 7 o'clock. Tennessee Gas Pipeline will be running that, and we will, I assume most of us will be there to attend. I believe Tom has 2 other meetings they've scheduled.
They were, on March 10th, National Grid is hosting the Department of Public Utilities. They're having a hearing. Also on March 11th, there is an extension to the DPU comment period. And I believe that's the only 2 items that I have.
That's it.
You want to give times?
That was all that I could find. I was searching for the exact times and locations. I wasn't able to find it. If someone is interested, let me know and I'll forward the email and I can try to track it down for you. I can tell you this with some other real quick information. The only utilities to sign up for the use of the pipeline is National Grid and Eversource, which I think is one and the same. I think National Grid falls under Eversource.
I think they're a subsidiary, yeah.
Subsidiary, yeah.
And lastly, Kinder Morgan has sent a request to FERC to allow them to start cutting trees in public areas by March 31st. That they're saying that they need to move in an expeditious fashion. So that's still up in the air as well.
I don't know how they do that without any approvals yet. All right, and the other one is we have Union Hospital. There was a set of questions that were sent to the Partners Healthcare by the Mass Department of Health. They returned those questions, those answers to those questions. A second set of questions went out. They were answered on March 2nd, and the answers that we received, or the state received, they forwarded to myself and the state reps, and they were basically the same answers as the first time around. They really didn't add much to it. What they did enforce was they are going to have a group that they're going to need to put together, a study group of local officials and part of the Partners Healthcare team. I've asked to be on that study group as to represent Linfield. I know some of the other local officials in the other towns around us have asked to be on that. I've asked the state reps to consider it, and I believe Senator McGee is also going to be involved with that. So they want to put that together to study the impact of the communities in this area of the closing of Union Hospital, and they've also indicated that we're going to study the possibility of a satellite emergency room, much like the emergency room at Lynn Union. Of course, that's the obvious place to keep it. It's already there. The building's there. The facility's there. They said that is an option, but they don't know if that's the best option. So that will be looked at this summer with the study group. And as we move along, I will update and let you know what's going on with that. And that's all I got on that.
In October of 2013, I asked them for such a group. It was a little slow.
So they're right on that.
You know, we just want to thank all the staff that's still at the Lynn Union. It's they deserve accolades for staying on during this period of flux in their servicing our needs. I know that a very dear friend, we had to rush him there, 10 o'clock on a Friday night. That place was packed. There wasn't an open seat in the waiting area. So there certainly is a need for that emergency facility. And I just hope that we can find a way to keep that open. And I wanted to thank Senator McGee for all of his efforts with helping all of us. We're trying to keep this facility open. He's really going above and beyond. So I just want to reach out and say thank you very much. We all appreciate it. And personally, I appreciate it because it's helping my friend dearly.
Thank you. Next item is the agreements on donations bins at Town Hall. The first agreement is for Planet Aid. It's the existing bin that's already there, which is, this is the new agreement for the, is this a 1 year or how is this a multi-year? How do we do it? 1 year agreement, Jim?
I believe it's a 1 year with our regionals.
Yeah.
How long was the last agreement?
They were there without agreements for a long time. And trying to, the DPW director, we had problems with them, and basically they're either gonna have to skin an agreement with us or they're gonna get out of there.
So the town gets 6 cents per pound?
Yep.
Are they ever in the way for snow plowing or parking? Or?
Not really. I mean, they take up a couple parking spots, but nothing that big. And the licenses are 2 years.
2 year license?
Yeah.
Okay.
And do you feel it's appropriate?
Yeah, I mean, they do some good things. They take a lot of stuff out of the waste stream. We get a little bit of something back from them. But they seem to just be showing up, and we had enough of that. So these are the two that have agreed to sign agreements with us, so they'll be able to keep them there.
So their big thing is clothing and shoes?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you need a motion to approve this?
Yes, please.
Okay.
This would Big Hearted Books and Clothing is the first one.
Make a motion can we approve both in one shot, or we need two?
Two separate ones, two separate agreements.
So make a motion to approve the Planet Aid box to be the Planet Aid license agreement.
That's fine.
That sounds good. All those in favor?
Aye.
And then the Big Hearted Books and Clothing.
Make a motion to approve the Big Hearted Books and Clothing Inc. lease license agreement.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Beautiful. So, those are done. We have a change of manager at Legal Seafoods. Any representative here from Legal?
This is a statewide change in the manager of the LLC.
Okay.
The local manager, and the ABCC basically sends a letter to us saying, we've already approved this. Get your board to approve it and sign it.
No, so it's just a formality as far as that concerned?
They've done the review because it's a statewide change for all their, it involves all their franchises within the Commonwealth.
Okay.
He's becoming a member of the LLC?
There's a change in the manager of the LLC.
All right. So we need a motion to accept the change
Just
of
to approve
manager?
the change, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'll make a motion to change the LLC manager of Legal Seafoods Inc., DBA Legal Sea Bar at 427 Walnut Street.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I have a public comment period. Anyone have a public comment? It's getting late. I don't know if anyone has okay. Before we go to executive session, we're gonna table that till next meeting?
Yeah, we're gonna table
Yeah, we'll
that.
table that. Okay, so we have some town facilities, the use of town roads and town hall lot and restrooms for the LAA July 4th road race. We do this every year.
Yeah,
It's a
standard.
great outing. I encourage people to participate and go down.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I would take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we have 2 sets of minutes. January 4th and the 25th, I believe. Any comments or questions on January 4th? Changes? Anything?
No.
No? Take a motion to approve the minutes for January 4th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then January 25th.
I haven't read them, I just got them. Could we defer this to the next meeting?
We can. 25th will defer. And the last piece of business I have is a proclamation. And as the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Lynnfield hereby declares that April 29th, 2016 be proclaimed as Arbor Day in Lynnfield, and further acknowledges that much of the strength and beauty of this old New England town comes from the forest of trees that our wise predecessors, by example, taught us to maintain along our streets and ways. Dated the 7th day of March, 2016. Arbor Day.
Wonderful.
There.
Great.
Thank you. I'm sure we have an original to sign. Thank you. So I think that's it for the day. Other than signing our warrants, take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And good night.
Good night, Linfield.